unlimited ammo.
All right, greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episodic discussion podcast. We talked about Dragon Ball games before, but this time we're talking about the Dragon Ball franchise relating to the anime, the manga, and all the crazy sagas and shit we've seen over the series. My name is Renegade Operative. I am your Shinron today, and I will introduce my panel. So first we have Tolkien.
Hi, I am glad to be back. Have not been a fan of the anime as long as probably everybody else on the panel since I just started watching it this year, but excited to be here and can't wait to start.
Jojo, introduce yourself.
How you doing? I'm Jojo. I like Dragon Ball a lot. Really big fan ever since I was in middle school. Glad to be on this podcast. Go Super Saiyan 4.
Nikki, how about you? Introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, Nikki here. I am a big fan of Dragon Ball Z since middle school also. We can talk about the days where we all used to try to frost our hair to make ourselves look Super Saiyan. Well, not me, the guys did, but I'm also currently eating a cheesesteak. And yeah, go Dragon Ball Z.
I remember trying to do the most ghetto Super Saiyan where I'm like, I just take my shirt and put it over my head and hopefully this makes me look badass. I'm not
So
the
you're
first.
that kid. So you're that kid that takes off his shirt and screams.
Yes, I remember that meme too. That was funny as fuck. But Kaneki, introduce yourself, good sir.
I am Good War Order, and I'm currently waiting for my sensu beans to be done, so I can heal up fully and discuss with you all of why Dragon Ball is one of the greatest anime series of all.
He's gonna be like Goku with that monster stomach, just finishing like 5 plates. But
Oh, I'm a eater, holy shit.
But Rat, introduce yourself, good sir.
As a person who has been watching Dragon Ball since the days of Saban Entertainment, all I have to say is that this is going to be special. I can feel it.
All right, and we're gonna jump right into the first question. Pretty standard one here. How did you get initially introduced into the Dragon Ball franchise? Explain your introduction, and I will go with Kaneki first.
Hey Ren, I got a great answer for that. You ever heard this channel Toonami?
Yes, I have.
That channel and Cartoon Network was my first introduction to the Dragon Ball series. Specifically, where they showed off Dragon Ball Z first, then Dragon Ball. And ever since they showed the Dragon Ball show on TV, I was engaged from the story of how Goku becomes this strong to every opponent he faces through his trainings alongside making friends, beginning, middle to end. And all the transformations he and his friends can do in order to defeat evil, like Frieza, Cell, Boo. It is really an incredible moment that I will probably never forget, because back then it was the only way to experience to watch anime unless you have bootleg VHS from Japan, of course.
All right, I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go next. I got into it the same way. It was Toonami. It was namely from my brother, because I think my brother actually started collecting all the tapes because it was no other way to really watch it. And he had tapes for Z and GT, and I remember him starting with the Saiyan saga, and I was just like, okay, this is kind of cool, kind of violent. I remember they were advertising just all the action and crazy shit when they migrated to Toonami, people getting hit really hard, elbows, knees, and I was like, this is actually pretty cool the way they emphasize all this fighting. And I just love the journey involved with the characters and everything. They really made you feel for them out of the gates, and this whole sort of like elements of people throwing like beams and all this other crazy stuff, explosions, aliens walking around, and punching people in the ribs. I was just like, okay, I'm settled in. This is cool. It's super badass. That's the main word I think I can use to describe Dragon Ball. And I also could never stop hearing people talk about this at my school. So I think it was one of those inevitable things. When Toonami happened, everybody was talking about it, and I was right there front and center. Rad, what about you?
So once upon a time, there were these things called VHS tapes, and there was this videotape called Dragon Ball, and it had a couple of episodes of the original show on it. So I watched it, and these characters look like the characters from my favorite video game, Chrono Trigger. And I didn't see much of it after that until about 2 years later, where I was looking through the TV guide, and there was this television show on Sunday morning called Dragon Ball Z. So I started watching that, and it's like, hey, I recognize Yamcha, and well, Goku got suddenly old, and wait, what? He has a kid? What's going on here? And afterwards, this Dragon Ball Z show became my Sunday morning obsession for a while, and that's kind of how I started with Dragon Ball.
Nikki, how about you? How did you get into Dragon Ball for the first time in history?
Like everybody else, Toonami, back in middle school. Kind of showing my age here, but yeah, definitely through Toonami. And I remember one of my classmates originally was into anime before anybody really knew what it was, and he used to go downtown into Chinatown to get some of the VHS tapes, so he knew about the story. And then all of a sudden we all just started talking about it, because I was always into the more boy things back in middle school, like the anime, the Power Rangers, all that, instead of Barbies. I mean, I like Barbies too, but that's irrelevant. But then they started showing the I think it was the Cell Games saga that we were at with Toonami. And I remember seeing it, and I said, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, and I knew about anime before at that point. Like, I knew Sailor Moon. I knew, was it Techno Man, I think was another one that they used to show a lot. Gundams, I knew the Cardcaptor Sakura, like those kind of animes. But then when I saw Dragon Ball Z, I said this is so badass. Like you said, Ren, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen. Like, so yeah, Toonami, definitely.
Falcon, what about you? How did you get into Dragon Ball for the first time in history?
Well, as a lot of people, I grew up watching anime when I was younger. Started with things like most kids do, like Pokemon and such. And then it was Yu-Gi-Oh! And then through high school and college, it was Naruto and One Piece and Bleach late nights when my parents were sleeping and we weren't supposed to be sneaking down the stairs to watch it, but we did. And I remember it was like we always watched animes on Saturday nights, and it was always One Piece, and then it was Naruto, and then one night they just happened to be showing Dragon Ball. And I remember watching with my brother and my sister. I think we watched, I don't know, it was some random episode. I couldn't even tell you what it was, but like we all hated it. I know that's like a hot topic button to say, because it's just like, I don't know, none of us like really liked it, and we found it like super cringe. It's like you see these grown men screaming and they get stronger, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, it's so weird, and it's just, I could never get into it. So I went my whole adulthood not watching it, not caring about it, until about this year. And I met a few people on another server and got talking, and I pretty much got forced, held against my will, to watch all of Dragon Ball from Dragon Ball Z into Super, and then watching all the movies, and then watching GT, and even watching abridged and fan made ones. And I just became like obsessed, and now I'm pretty much like, I really enjoy the series. Don't get into the games, but yeah, now years later, now hitting 30s, now I am a fan.
That server did you a favor.
Yep.
Yeah, you need to throw those people who hated Dragon Ball into the gorge. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But Jojo, how about you? What do you think of Dragon Ball for the first time you got into it?
I would say the first time I discovered Dragon Ball, which was kind of unintentionally, like back in the mid 90s when I was reading an old issue of Game Informer or EGM, I think, and it had like a section in the back that showed, import games, and that was where I saw, Goku and Vegeta and Gohan for the first time. And then later on, eventually I would get into watching, Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, spend the next 5 years watching Raditz arrive, ending at when Goku one-shots Rikum, and it was like that for a while. And I as slow as it was waiting for these new episodes, I still love the series. I love the art style. I was into martial arts a lot back then. I still can't get enough of it.
All right, we're moving on to our next question. That's question number 2. What do you think of the main character, Goku? And I will start with Jojo first.
I like Goku. He's a simple guy. He kind of reminds me of myself a little bit. Only if I were, actually in shape. I like his manifesto on, just keep getting stronger no matter what. I always like that about him. He's a character that never gives up, and I can admire that. And I like how he inspires all the other characters, even a lot of the bad guys, to give up their bad guy ways and become good. And not only that, but get stronger as well. Which is why I like characters like Piccolo and Vegeta, all them. So yeah, Goku is a really good character, really simple, really easy to design, cool hair. I like him.
Falcon, what about you? What are your thoughts on Mr. Goku?
I think Goku is a good character. Not one of my favorites, like he probably is for most people. I think it went downhill for me for him the later you go into the series, which goes into the latter of question 4. It's just the change in how he was portrayed in the anime. I was not a fan of, because he seems to be dumbed down a lot, and things that he should know as a grown adult man just seem a mystery to him. He seems to luck into things. I don't know, but like early on Goku, I do enjoy, I really like, and he has a lot of moments in the later anime where he can surprise you and does some really great things. It makes me forget about some of the dumb stuff he does, but overall, I think he's a decent character.
Cheeseburger Wop, how about you? What do you think of Goku?
Give me 1 second.
Oh, that cheesesteak is getting demolished. Okay, I guess I'll go real quick then. So I'm gonna keep this brief. I believe that Goku is your prototypical shonen anime protagonist, where he's very aloof and, well, kind of dumb at moments, as well as we see in the series, giving enemies power-ups with the sensu beans and stuff like that. But his carefree attitude is good. It's a good trait to have a character where you really just love them goofing around and just, being like this breath of fresh air to a lot of people in the actual canon and lore, and trying to inspire people and help people out. I do believe that there are things about Goku as well where it's like when he gets like uncontrollably mad, and when he gets like super strong, and he starts like bragging sometimes too, when it came to like Vegeta and he was just like, I'm well above you. I'm not gonna beat my body up. I'm not gonna do any of that. And that interaction was like so priceless. It's like when he has those moments, it's just gold, because he's mostly known for like a humble character, treating people right, and honestly fighting for what he believes in, which is his family, friends, and the world around him. But it's a lot of cool moments this character has as well, and I think it resonated with a lot of the franchise. Like, he's been there from beginning to about now. I don't think you can have Dragon Ball without Goku, and it clearly shows. Although we will get into other questions about what I think and how other characters maybe should have got pushed a little bit more, but ultimately I'm glad they settled on this character, tried to evolve his arc, and they do some interesting stuff with him, especially in like other timelines or other places like Dragon Ball Super. You got the evil Goku and things of that nature. So I thought it was awesome for what it was, and I can't wait to see more of him and Daima. Next up is Rat. What do you think of Goku so far?
Goku as a character has so many moments that I can't really picture any shonen protagonist doing the exact same thing in that particular situation. Moments that are so quintessentially Goku, where he will let a villain power up to their fullest. That way, when Goku defeats them, he leaves no doubt. He is a character that wants to get strong by his own hand, so that when he receives a power given to him by his friends and family, he fucking hates that he can't achieve it by his own ends. He is a trainer for life, so that when he sees a wall in front of him, it pisses him off. That, to me, is Goku. He is a character that seeks out power constantly. He seeks out stronger opponents constantly. It's just kind of hard to describe him. I'm sorry. It's just kind of hard to describe Goku as a character that isn't just, he wants to get stronger. But I'm sorry, I'm just rambling.
Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. Nikki, are you done with the cheesesteak?
Yeah, no, I wasn't eating a cheesesteak. That it was a lot of background noise.
No, I was just making a joke.
If
no,
I
no,
could
that's
just,
right. No,
I'm
I
sorry.
did devour that cheesesteak, and it was very, very good.
If I could just sort of, if I could just sort of finish the point, and then I'll move on.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Is that with Goku you get a character that wants to be strong by his own means. I can't really picture any other shonen protagonist getting upset at the things Goku gets upset about. He's so incredibly unique in the lexicon of other shonen protagonists. But that's what makes him such a cool character. Okay.
Nikki, it is your turn.
So if there's any word that I can think of when it comes to Goku, it's definitely iconic. Because, you have like, the Mount Rushmore of anime characters. You have Akira, probably, Naruto, Usagi, and then you have Goku. Like, if you want to put the four of them together. Also, Usagi is more powerful than Goku. Yes, we are going there. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that Goku is my favorite character in Dragon Ball Z. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Actually, that's the next question. I like Goku. I don't have an issue with him. I thought he had a little more personality in the Dragon Ball series. I still remember the horrible things he said to Bulma, and I don't know how that got past the censors, but it was very funny. I thought he was a lot more charming when he was little, the little Goku in Dragon Ball, but yeah, I mean, I don't see too many faults with Goku. I am always been more of a Vegeta fan than Goku, but I don't have it. I mean, yeah, he's pretty cool, and he's definitely, like I said, iconic. He's the strongest character in the series for a reason. He has protagonist plot armor, even though he has died so many times. But yeah, going by what was said earlier, that he wants to get stronger by his own means because, you know, he just wants to get stronger to protect everyone he loves. And that he gets upset when he can't jump over a certain hurdle to his journey to power. But yeah, and I do like how I honestly wish I had a was it an endless stomach so I could eat everything like he does. But no, Goku's cool. I like him.
Kaneki, it is your turn. What do you think about Goku?
Y'all said it the best so far with Goku. I think he's decent, you know, for a main character, shonen protagonist. I don't have beefs with him, you know. I'm gonna be that guy. Can he be a better father though?
I shouldn't. You know what? Fuck it.
For Gohan,
This
like, bro, how's Piccolo a better father? Fucking Gohan, bro.
Yeah, most of the time he's just like kind of dead, and then Piccolo's like, you know, I'm gonna train you and teach you. So, really, the green guy is a better father figure, but that's neither here nor there. Are you finished, Kaneki?
I'll explain why he's not my favorite when we get into the next question.
All right, I was just looking at the chat and saying that I remember that notion where Goku was like, I think Vegeta called him out as like, you don't kiss your wife or whatever. It's like, yeah, I don't. It's like kissing during back shots must be crazy, but never mind me.
Okay.
I'm gonna move on to the next question. That's probably gonna get highlighted too. We have the side characters here, which are the characters that are not Goku that might have been important through the series. What are your favorite side characters and how did they add to Goku's story? As a bonus, is there any underrated characters that probably should have got a better arc that you want to bring up here? And I'm going to go with Rat first.
This doesn't feel fair to me because by definition, would you consider Vegeta a supporting character?
Yes. Even well, he's I don't know. It's hard to
Depends on
say.
the moment.
He would be deuteragonist or however you say that.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah, like
guess.
Secondary character mostly.
Pronounce it.
Like
He's always number 2 for a reason.
yeah. Well, damn.
Oh, he said it himself. Goku is number 1.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
He was number 1.
Sorry.
But it really hurts his ego when he sees Goku getting stronger than him, which is, I mean, at times, I think he did surpass him at moments during the Android saga, I believe. But yeah, after that, he kind of got overlapped, but still a great character. Continue.
It's just Vegeta's growth is so synonymous with Goku's growth because when you think back to the Saiyan saga, how incredibly different their positions were. Vegeta was this regal prince of the Saiyans, and Goku was this low-class bum on a primitive planet. And then you get to the Namek saga where Vegeta is begging Goku, please be the one to kill Frieza. You represent all of us Saiyans. You have to be the one to kill him because I sure as hell can't. It's just the genuine growth of Vegeta happens either because of Goku or alongside Goku. It's why I enjoy them just learning off one another and fighting one another, because it's just, no matter where it is, no matter if it's in Saiyan Saga or if it's all the way at the end of Z and Buu Saga, Goku and Vegeta is just the story of hard work versus privilege. It's I can't think of any other character that's just as important to Goku, if not Vegeta.
Tolkien, how about you? What is your favorite like supporting character?
I had a couple. I saw characters, so I picked like 3. But I'm not gonna get too deep into it. Unfortunately, I would have to say it feels like everybody is a side character when you have to compare it to Goku. I'm not a fan of that, but I think for me, my favorites have always been Piccolo for one. Him more so because, well, I'm a huge fan of the voice actor for one, so I immediately, as soon as I heard the voice, the English VA for him, I was like, oh yeah, I'm in. Like, one of my favorite voice actors, like, Piccolo's gonna end up being one of my favorite, and he's fun and funny, and as has been brought up among many a people, like, is a better parent than Goku is for Goku's own son. Like,
Yes, he's his father.
like, I'm gonna get into that more in a different question, but like, yeah, it's just ridiculous. Trunks is another one. Out of all, like, what I would consider the younger generation, like Gohan, Goten, Trunks, all of them, Trunks is definitely my favorite. Kid had to grow up in the future without a father, and he just trains so hard and takes care of his mom and comes back and tries to fix mistakes from the past to help his future. I just think overall he's a really good character. And then, of course, probably my favorite out of all of them has to be Vegeta. I started off as not liking Vegeta, but he has the best transformation story out of everybody. Goes from being a pure villain, hating Goku, hating Earth, and all of this, and turns completely 180 and becomes a hero to them. Becomes, really good friends with Goku, ends up settling down and gets married, has a kid. Like, and even when you finally get to Super, like, one of my favorite parts of Super is when Beerus slaps Bulma and he goes, "Not my Bulma," and I'm like, oh my god, yes! Like, it's so great to see how much he's changed from the beginning of Dragon Ball all the way to the end. Gotta be my favorite character.
Don't forget he cockblocked Yamcha. That's why he got with Bulma.
Oh my
By doing
god.
nothing.
That was, well, I already saw the lines in the sand when Bulma was like helping him when the ship exploded, and Yamcha was like, well, what is going on? Do they have something going on? And then he tried to go into Vegeta's ship and he almost got crushed, and I laughed so hard because I'm like, you moron, why are you doing this?
I like how Team 4-Star portrayed what happened between Vegeta and Bulma. They did it. Let's be honest, they did it.
Pornography? You know what?
In the bed.
We gonna move on to the next person because I want to be actually innocent during this podcast. But Kaneki, how about you?
Oh my god.
What is your favorite side character?
Well, of course you're dodging this. When you say side characters, does it mean? Do you mean count? I mean, does villains count?
Yeah, they do.
Ooh, then you know what I'm about to pick. If it's not Goku that is my favorite character, then let's go to the future. Let's go to Trunks' future, where he fought someone familiar. He looks like the main character, but he is not. His name ends with Black. That's right, Goku Black. His story, before they revealed of why he was Goku Black, I like how they built up Goku Black. He is the one that eventually slaughtered the city in Trunks' future timeline. Killed, if I'm not mistaken, did he kill Mai as well? That's what pushes Trunks' breaking point.
I think Mai lived through everything. I think it was Bulma that died.
Oh, I know Bulma died, but the Goku Black tried to kill Mai because he blasted her. I saw that. It was the villain that Dragon Ball needed since I think after Kid Buu. They was like struggling, even with the early days of Super. They was like, outside of repeating, the movies, they were struggling like how to make a great Dragon Ball villain. And for a time being, Goku Black was that villain. It's like, imagine if Goku was evil. They finally managed to do it. It's too bad the way they revealed him, like, of why he. I wish they would have changed that.
Well, I mean,
Amatsu.
it can't be any worse than Beerus, but I mean, not Beerus. What was the name of that other guy? Jiren. Yes. His backstory.
No, his backstory is garbage. Sasuke had a better backstory, and that's what they tried to copy.
But Kaneki,
But outside of
oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say outside of Goku Black, Krillin, I would say he's one of my favorite supported characters because he is Goku's best friend, and he's been on a journey with Goku many years. For many years, he was being with Goku throughout this crazy adventures from Dragon Ball when they were kids until Z, and probably till like during the World Tournament or the Tournament of Power in Super. And he's with 18, so he's a win in my book.
I'm still trying to think of side characters. I guess I'll use the common ones as my turn. But all right, Goku Black, because as stated and already illustrated for a villain, they weren't really doing too well with like a villain that stuck for the longest time in Super. So he came around. It's just like, I understand they tried the whole evil Goku thing before, but this one was kind of different. And I don't mind Zamasu either, like him just getting tired, one of the Kaioshin just getting kind of tired of humanity and people just killing each other, life just being like meaningless to these people. And he tries to implement the Zero Mortals plan and eradicate like almost everyone. So I think it did lead to a lot of fun moments, which I will talk about later with future arcs for Super. But I believe that Goku Black was a great villain. I would say Frieza as well is a favorite of mine as well. But for side characters, I'm gonna have to go with Vegeta. His arc from beginning to end was pretty good. Going from just a straight up killer, like this guy was just killing people left and right. He's almost unrecognizable now as far as the franchise kind of goes. So you go back and you see he was just sort of, he's wailing on Gohan, he's wailing on Yajirobe. It was pretty insane. But now he's just like this figure. I want to protect the people that I love. I kind of still have this cocky personality, but I still appreciate this new family now. And I just remember this culminating to the Buu saga, where I know a lot of people shit on the Buu saga. I say it's mixed or whatever, but I believe his character was at the strongest point back then, because he's kind of like saying, I have this family and it's kind of making me too soft and I want to go back to the old days. And then he flips on a dime again, and that's when Majin Buu comes in and he gets all heroic and stuff. And then I remember the speech with him and Piccolo where it's like, am I gonna get the same treatment as Goku? And he's like, no, because you killed so many people. And then he's like, okay, I understand, you can go now. And then Final Atonement was just super sad. It was sad, but it was one of the most badass moments where Vegeta said, I will crush you and throw you into the wind. So fantastic character growth all around, 100%. I just don't think it gets much better. He's the perfect like counter to Goku in like a lot of ways. I also think Gohan and Trunks are really damn good. Trunks is just like cool, the embodiment of cool. The sword, everything, how he came in there embodied like King Cole.
He's also one of the homies.
Yeah, he came in there, he bodied King Cole, he sliced Frieza into 5,000 veal cutlets. It was the most awesome interest I think I ever saw for like a new character, because they absolutely stood no chance. Also Gohan, although I do feel like when it comes to the underrated category and his arc, yes, I agree with everyone else. They should have passed the torch to Gohan as opposed to making him weak and going into the Buu saga, oh, I have to train and all this other stuff, and then they sort of switch it to, well, Gohan, stay in school, you can't go around and do all this stuff. I hate Chi-Chi for that, but still I still like his character nonetheless. I'm glad they did some stuff with Super where it's like he's participating now. He's actually doing a lot more than normal, and they gave him a new form in the superhero movie, which I think that was really great. Hopefully, we see more of him in the manga going forward as well. And that's my pick so far. It's a couple of other characters that I like, but off the top of my head, it's just some villains and some of the heroes that we have. Next up is Nikki. What is your favorite side characters of Dragon Ball?
I'll say my favorite character in Dragon Ball in the whole series is Trunks. I think it just doesn't get any more cooler than him. He's like, yeah, the embodiment of cool. When he first showed up, he had the sword, he had the Nick Carter hair or the Leon Kennedy look at the time. He just looks so cool, and the way how he just came in and just like decimated all of Frieza's troops like that. I think it didn't get any more badass than that. But ultimately, you know, piggybacking off of what everyone said about Vegeta, I can't even remember the last time an anime a character had such a like a 180. I mean, you remember the Saiyan saga when he came down to Earth with Nappa and he just like wailed on everybody, just decimated the entire world almost. Into the dorky father who like loves his kid. He wears a pink button-down shirt that says "Bad Man" on it. Slaps people or beats the shit out of enemies who slap his wife. Like, it really. I mean, there's not much more I can say about Vegeta that's already been said. Piccolo's the same way. He did another 180. And, I mean, this isn't a question about potential or anything, but I think Gohan, they really wasted his potential with the series. But yeah, I mean, everything about Vegeta's already been said. So I can go on and praise Trunks for being my favorite character of the entire series. He just looks cool. His moveset's cool. He's got the badass sword. The best intro of the entire series, I think.
His
And it's-
backstory is like really cool too, because everyone
yeah.
in his timeline, they're all dead. Like,
Right, I remember the Trunks movie, yeah.
and seeing the thing with him and Gohan where he's
Mhm.
approaching him in the rain and he's dead and he turns into a Super Saiyan is one of the saddest transformations I think ever is in the series.
That I've ever seen.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on to the next question that we have here.
Wait, I didn't get to go yet.
Oh, I forgot JoJo existed. My bad. No, I'm just kidding. But JoJo, what's your favorite side characters?
I got a couple. I'm gonna keep most of mine relatively short and sweet. But I would say one of my favorites absolutely is Piccolo, mainly because he literally started off his existence as like split off from Kami, aka God, and meaning because he was part of that split, Piccolo, or King Piccolo, he was known at the time, was literally the embodiment of pure evil at the time. Like, this guy was so evil that when he killed people, they didn't even get to go to the afterlife. They just went to limbo or something, and he was considered a demon. And then after being reincarnated as Piccolo, and then getting to bond with Gohan and all the other good guy characters, he became one of the most prolific, heroes in the series. He's usually like one of the smartest. He's usually the one to act first. And that's what I really, really liked about Piccolo. And like everyone said, yeah, he's the dad of the series now, at least in terms of Gohan. And of course, Vegeta for very similar reasons, because he started off as this prince and he got humbled by this low rank, this low rank, practically a peasant. He was so weak that he had to be sent to a planet like Earth, and he couldn't even conquer that. And then now he comes along and smacks the crap out of him. And over time, he gets his, for lack of a better term, humanity, even though he's not a human. And, he has his family, becomes one of the best, heroes in Universe 7. And as for my last two favorite characters, I'd say Cell, mainly because he has the potential to be the strongest ever. All he'd have to do is just keep blowing himself up over and over again. He could slap the Omni King around probably. And my last favorite is Bulma because I grew up liking her. She was one of my first waifus. So yeah, Bulma is one of my that I'm keeping that one simple.
All right, so we are.
Not to mention Kale.
Oh, Kale, yeah, the tournament.
I
character.
love Kale. Like you know how you do a Broly as a character is finally canon. You want to do fucking female Broly character? They fucking did it. Kale.
I also want to jump on the Kale train. Not necessarily just Kale, just the sisterhood of Saiyans in Universe 6, because these are characters that get better because of Goku and not in the, well, how have they been influenced by Goku? No, it's the other way around with them. Caulifla literally powers up at breakneck speed because she watches Goku do that transformation once, and she's like, ah, shit, I want to do that. Meanwhile, Kale is on the other side of this where she can't do a damn thing except when her sister is getting taken away from her because Caulifla has bigger priorities in her life, and that influences Kale in a way that no one could have possibly dreamed of. I genuinely, if Vegeta is best supporting character, those are like silver medals, both of them. They're both holding the silver medal.
The next question is kind of interesting. So, what are your thoughts on some of the brutal nature of the older Dragon Ball series with the sagas and the violence? Do you agree, disagree with the violence being scaled down for later entries like Super? And what was its impact when you saw it? The most violent moments. I'll go first with this one. So I believe I forget what this was. I think it was late night Toonami or whatever, or late night stuff in general, where they said something like Dragon Ball Uncut, and I was just like, kind of, okay, what is this? I didn't even know the show was uncut in the first place. So I remember staying up one night and watching that uncut block of Toonami, and that's when I saw like all the blood and the gore and everything, and well, most they added in. That's what they sort of had for that advertisement, the midnight run, yes. And I was just kind of like, this is more brutal than I thought it would be. Like, I just kind of figured it was a routine martial arts show, but no, when they were like blowing holes through people, I think that's the first thing I saw on that one night where Piccolo kinda is charging up the special beam and Goku's holding like Raditz and he's about to fire, and then he just blows an entire hole through like both of them, and I was just like, holy shit.
That was definitely an iconic moment, the uncensored version.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Their chest was decimated, their hearts were gone. I was just like, this is holy shit. So I just thought to myself, I want to watch more of this because it's more enticing that way to see the violence have sort of an impact. As for it's kind of being gone in Super, well, there is a lot of violent moments in the manga from what I saw. I don't know how they're going to do this in the show, but there is a moment where Vegeta gets like hit by Granola and he hits him in the gut, and all of a sudden he just blows like a hole through his stomach, and it's pretty violent actually. I think someone was talking about it where it's like they have blood in Super, it's back now, yay, and it's a lot of it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of old DayZ. As for them toning it down, well, I guess maybe it's just kind of like one of those things where I heard it's different syndications for Japan. So there's the morning block where stuff is kind of like toned down a bit, and then there's another one where it's like at nighttime where they show like more later TV shows like Bleach, 1,000-Year Blood War, and that is just like, you see heads come off, you see people bisected, cut in half, and I'm just like, okay. So clearly they have two different styles for how they put things on TV, and I think dumbing down Super was a casualty of that, unfortunately. Otherwise, I think it probably would have still been the same if they had moved it to a later slot or something like that. I'm not sure of all the details, but that's kind of what I heard from certain people. Either way, I do like the violence in Dragon Ball. When it happens, it makes things a lot more impactful and dire, and that's kind of why when I went from the Saiyan saga to the Frieza saga, it was just a lot of emotion in those scenes, especially Vegeta getting beaten. That was a really, really violent moment, as well as even the Buu saga had its moments where like it's just hard to watch that scene where Videl gets like slaughtered by Spopovich. It's just hard to watch. But Rat, it is your turn. What do you think of this question and the violence in DBZ and the series?
I'm actually going to keep my answer really quick because I feel like Dragon Ball as a whole can survive off of not being so brutally violent in relation to the fights themselves. Because I feel like the general catharsis of villains being dispatched and the method of which they are done so, like the big ass spirit bomb, the Kamehameha to end them all. I don't think a lot is lost if Dragon Ball doesn't get to show blood. I feel like the impact and brutality of the fights are defined by characters and not by violence.
I agree with that. I think it was very important to show
Mix on that.
yeah. I do think it was important though to show Vegeta getting absolutely humiliated, because at that point he was kind of like, oh, I'm the strongest being ever, I'm gonna get a Zenkai boost every single time during that whole Frieza saga, and Frieza's like, nope, I'm gonna treat you like a dog and see what happens.
Speaking of which,
Mhm.
I just had a thought about this where despite my answer, I couldn't picture a particular sequence going any other way. The method of which how Frieza is dispatched.
Oh yeah.
Frieza gets chopped up into 3 pieces by his own Destructo Discs. I don't care what he calls it, it's Destructo Discs. Frieza getting hoisted by his own petard. That fight and the means by which it ended could not have gone any other way. Well, there's, you fool, big blast, but, really that fight and that ending would not have been as good if it wasn't Frieza doing the deed on his own means.
Kaneki, what about you? What do you think of the violence?
I personally like the violence, like on what is it? I don't think I'm with and with not with Rad's answer on the whole violence thing. Like, I would say for specific moments, I would want it to be violence, because I think that's how many people know about Dragon Ball, or part of what they know about Dragon Ball is some of the moments where it gets really violent is something I hope they do keep. Like, every fight doesn't have to be violent, but when, like, I would say for important moments, like when they're all bruised up and when it's like a serious fight, I want it to be as violent as possible. Like, the Future Trunks arc where Gohan has like his and all that. They need to keep that.
Oh, you mean when Gohan like loses an arm?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's one arm in the future.
yeah, they took like pot shots in the area and blew it up, and that's how he lost his arm. I remember that.
And then I think the other time I remember, when First Form Cell was introduced, I think it was in the Dragon Ball Uncut or in later DVDs. He uses his tail to absorb a random citizen minding his own business. And they showed everything about that random citizen's skin. He's rotting away at this point because he's absorbing that man. I was like, what the fuck? I have never seen that in an anime before during that time. Like, you see at that point, then you see him fucking, I don't know what he got turned into. Like, I can't say goo. Like, he's pretty much dead.
I also remember Boo blowing people up as well. That was also pretty violent moments. But Nikki, it is your turn. What do you think of the violence in Dragon Ball?
I don't mind the violence so long as it like fits the story or fits the mood of what's going on. If it's just like mindless gore, I'm kind of like, all right, whatever. I mean, I can see other animes if I really want to see like blood, gore, guts, whatever.
Berserk,
like,
baby.
Yeah, I was just about to say Berserk. Yeah, I can watch Berserk if that's really what I want to see. But if it fits the narrative, yeah, I'm totally fine with blood and gore and whatever else they have. But you guys pretty much again said everything that I was really gonna say. So I'll keep my my answer pretty short. I'm fine with the violence as long as it fits the narrative. If it's a more dire situation, yeah, I do want to see more violence that reflects the situation of what's going on, so that we can
Agreed.
feel, yeah, so like we can feel what the characters are feeling. We can feel the seriousness, the dire situation of what's going on. It's like the world's about to end, and you're at the edge of your seat. What, like, oh my god, is this gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Is everyone gonna die? And but if it's just again mindless gore that doesn't fit the situation, I'm kind of like, yay, moving on. And that's pretty much it for me. With this answer, I mean.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Jojo, what about you? What do you think of the violence in Dragon Ball?
Like everyone else said, I think it works when it works. Like when you want to show a villain being evil or super duper powerful, and there are times when you can make the situations more less violent, which is what I think they're kind of trying to do with Daima, since all the characters get turned into kids. I will say this though, I did hate the early censorship of violence in the early dub of Dragon Ball Z, because it kind of annoyed me when characters said that a character is getting sent to another dimension instead of dying, because that just sounded dumb. I better go
losers.
I better go water my plants or they'll get sent to another dimension.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, I've got bugs in my house. I better call the exterminator and have them sent to another dimension. Just say death, kids. I mean, I know little kids, can't grasp death as well as adults, but I'm sure by the time you're old enough to watch Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball, you're old enough to understand death. Oh yeah, and don't forget the frothy glass of water. I'm sure Rad knows that. Oh, that's a censorship thing. That's different. Never mind.
I just remember Saiyan Saga, Vegeta and Nappa dropping down, blowing up an entire building. Too bad it was a Sunday, or else there would have been people in there.
What the?
Oh my god, they blew up the cargo robot.
Look, I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
That's just so weird. I don't even get it. It doesn't even make sense. But
I remember Nappa killed someone in a plane he was about to destroy.
He blew up a bunch of planes. Like, he blew up an entire army of planes that were gonna try and bomb him, and he blew them up like they were made of paper or something.
Yeah, and then he grabbed one of them out of the plane before he did it.
Yep, I think I remember that.
Tolkien, what about you? What do you think of the violence in Dragon Ball?
Well, I, for one, am all for the brutal anime.
There you go.
Just for me, starting off with Dragon Ball Z, and I kind of didn't notice it at first, that the farther you get in and once you get to Super and all that, how censored it is. And I'm watching and I'm like I get it. I get probably a lot of the reason for it is a bigger audience gets to see it, but in my opinion, fuck that. Can you imagine watching Bleach censored and you don't see all of that blood and missing limbs and holes through people? Bleach would be so lame in my opinion if you didn't have all that stuff. And
One Piece 4Kids says hi.
I know. See, I grew up watching One Piece 4Kids, and as a younger kid, I didn't think anything of it. fucking enemies having suction cups instead of darts, or Sanji having a lollipop instead of a fucking cigarette. And I didn't think anything of it until I got older and I noticed the differences. And it's just like,
Yeah.
with
It's
Dragon,
just the image of one of Buggy's lackeys holding a gun to Colby's head, and it's a gun with like a spring-loaded hammer
God forbid.
on top.
Yeah. Oh, but God forbid they show a rice ball, right? And
You
then
mean
they
jelly
don't call
donut.
it. Ah, yep, there it is. God forbid they call it that. Oh wait.
Well, we don't have rice balls over here in the West.
No, we called them donuts in the Sailor Moon anime, remember?
Nothing beats a jelly donut, I tell you.
Hey, donut head.
All right, good.
I didn't get to finish, but so yeah, I think a massive disservice, in my opinion, is done to the anime because you're watering down not only the violence, but also, as I was saying in the beginning of the podcast, they dumbed down Goku so bad, and I hate it. Because, like, he's so good as a character in the beginning, but once you get to, like, especially Super and some of the things that happen, I'm just like, why did you turn him so dumb? Like Ren had said in the chat earlier, and it was a point that I had typed up earlier that I wanted to bring up. It's like, you get to this point where he's having this discussion about Chi-Chi, and somebody says something about kissing her, he goes, what's that? And I'm like, why? As an adult watching this, it's not funny. It's lame. Like, I get you did that to appeal to the younger kids, like they laugh and think it's funny, but like as an adult watching it, no. Like, he knows that is, he's married to her, he has kids with her. Why would you just say something like that? And it's so, like, it contrasts so much because you have times like that where he's just so brain dead, but then you have later times where he like acts like an actual adult, and it's just so, I don't know, I hate it. It's like somebody told me, it's like, you refer to Kakarot is smart and Goku is dumb. Like, I don't know. I just hate how it changed so much. But yeah, I think censoring it to that degree, I think, is a massive disservice for the anime and should be like Bleach. It's for the mature audience, and I think it would be way better.
I don't think that's censoring the character entirely. I think that's because they made him. I mean, have you forgot how he landed on Earth? Did I get cut out?
I heard what you said, but you got cut out.
How he landed on Earth, I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, he fell on
how
his
he
head.
landed on Earth.
He fell on his head.
That's how Goku is that dumb, because how he landed on Earth. I don't like it either. I don't like what they did to him, but you gotta blame it on the guys that made the character.
I mean, if you go back to OG Dragon Ball itself, Goku is, for the longest time in his life, he's an incredibly sheltered little boy who barely had any contact with any, like, humans in general.
That man never goes to school, even as Saiyan.
No.
When he landed on Earth.
Oh my
Nope,
God.
never read a book a day in his life.
I'll be fair there. If they ever did a point where Goku goes to school, I would fucking shit on it all day, because that would not be his character. But anyways.
Hey, Geeko.
I
Right,
just...
Dragon Ball Evolution?
Not gonna make the evolution joke. Not gonna make the evolution joke.
Please, no. Let's move on to the other question. Dragon Ball Evolution, my God. Oh, speaking of which, we are talking about movies here for question number 5. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on any of the canon and non-canon Dragon Ball movies? And JoJo, you will go first.
Evolution does not exist. I'm saying that right now. You all need to understand that evolution does not exist. But as for movies, I would have to say my favorite of the movies is probably, I guess if you want to count that, the history of Trunks, because it showed all the shit future Trunks and future Gohan were going through. I also liked Battle of Gods, mainly because, like Rad said earlier, it showed how Goku was legitimately unhappy with how he attained the Super Saiyan God form. I'm like, wow, that actually fits really good with his character. This movie's badass. Like, that's why I tell people, like, if you're gonna get back into Dragon Ball, watch Battle of Gods. those are my oh yeah, don't forget and I'm sure everyone knows about Super Broly. I really like that one because it has my favorite version of Broly, the one that makes the most sense. I'm going there, by the way.
Oh man,
Yeah,
I like both Brolys.
That's my. I mean, I like the old Broly too, but I like the new Broly a little bit better. Yeah, that's my opinion on the movies. It's just short and simple. Also, Super Dragon Ball Heroes is awesome. If you want to count that as it's a mini series, but I guess it doesn't count or not. I don't know.
I wouldn't count that. It's not. It was more of a mini series than a movie.
Right. Fair enough.
Well, Kaneki, it is your turn. What's your favorite canon, non-canon movies, or anything else you want to mention for the movies?
Well, so what is it? Well, I kind of easily answer with the Broly movies, except for Bio Broly. We don't ever talk about that one. Let's leave it behind with Evolution. Thank you. But the first two original Broly movies I liked, followed by easily the best Broly movie they did was Super Broly movie. That was like, you finally gave that man, more character development than going on the berserk tirade shouting Kakarot. No, he has a bit more personality in this one, and he's canon too, which I appreciate. And then there was Battle of Gods, which I did like. Which was the one where they fought Frieza in his golden form, Resurrection F.
Yeah,
that is correct.
That one I really enjoy. Like, I like the movies version of it, but then how the show Super, like, eventually portrayed it in their episodes. I just like the movie one more, especially with the animation, because early on Super animations was not that great. And then I like the movie with Turtles, and I like the Biojack one. Gohan was not having it. Gohan beat the shit out of Bojack, if I'm not mistaken. And then the one with Janemba and Gogeta, where they fought in hell. I was like, that is cinema right there for Dragon Ball. I think that's about it.
Nikki, it is your turn. What is your favorite canon or non-canon movies with Dragon Ball?
I'll be totally honest. I don't really remember the last movie that I saw. It was probably the Trunks movie. I have to refresh a lot of my Dragon Ball memory.
I forgot that was a movie.
Yeah, it was History of Trunks.
Yeah, the History of Trunks.
I watched it. I remember they put it like as an episode on Toonami. I thought
it was. They had a shorter version of it on Toonami before. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing the AMVs for it. I forget which music video it was. I think it was Machine Head by Bush had one of the AMVs for the History of Trunks, and I almost sure there was a Linkin Park one. I swear there was a Linkin Park AMV for every single Dragon Ball episode or something. Back in the day, that was the thing. But yeah, I would say History of Trunks is probably my favorite one. Like I'm a Trunks fangirl, but I do have to catch up on a lot of my Dragon Ball movies. Or just a lot of my Dragon Ball series in general. Like, I kind of stopped watching around the Boost saga, so I really have a lot to catch up on. But that's my answer.
I will go next. So, it's a lot of fucking movies to remember and go through. I'll just go off the obvious. I really did like the Dragon Ball Super Broly film. I thought that was really hype. Just that one friggin' scene where Broly and Gogeta like break time. And Gogeta's like, what the fuck is this? What's going on? Like, time is getting completely disrupted.
What is time?
Because they are so powerful. It's just like he doesn't even know what's happening at that rate. I thought it was great. The animation was fire. Like one of the best animated Dragon Ball movies I think I ever seen. If I go back to the older ones, I did like the Broly films. Not Bio Broly, mostly like my favorite is the first one where he actually shows up and they don't know what's going on and he goes like legendary Super Saiyan and starts like stomping Goku like a trampoline, which is my favorite scene in the movie.
If I'm not mistaken, that version of Broly also killed his own father.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Yeah,
crushed
he killed
him in
his
a
own
space
father.
pod.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of wanted that in Super, but I'll take what we got for Super. But continue.
But there's the other movies. I thought Resurrection F was okay. I liked it all the way to the point where I thought the ending was just, you know, dumb. So that kind of killed it a little bit for me. But these super movies aren't really so bad. I believe they are great sort of expansions to the lore, the universe, and the world. I also like superhero a lot as well, even though I'm kind of not really all on the train of the 3D animation, but I think it worked for what it was in that movie, so I don't really hate it too bad. And plus, Beast Gohan is a beast in that film, and so Max got body, so I couldn't be happier. Seeing these in theaters and seeing them so successful just warms my heart. And of course, as JoJo said, evolution does not fucking exist with Justin chat with his Goku. Just no. But we will move on to the next person, which is Tolkien. What do you think of the Dragon Ball movies?
I believe I've watched most of them, canon and non-canon alike. But the ones that always stuck out to me as my favorites were pretty much what everybody else has said, is Super Broly, way better than the other ones. I like the backstory better. I liked his overall design better. I just think the whole movie was better in general. The Battle of the Gods, of course, super iconic because of Goku's line in it. But I think my favorite overall is probably superheroes. I always appreciate when I get to see the, quote, side characters actually get to do something and have more action and not have Goku involved all the time. So seeing Gohan have beast form and seeing Piccolo get his new transformation and everything that happened in between in that whole movie, it's just overall my favorite movie. Really well done. But yeah.
Rad, your turn. What do you think of the Dragon Ball movies?
The early Dragon Ball Z movies, we had it pretty all right with films like Dead Zone and World's Strongest, which I like and no one really talks about that much anymore. I really liked Revenge of Cooler because of Cooler as a character. His transformations are some of the most looking ones. The iconic scene where he just pops out of the waterfall and like the mouth mask pops in. It's such a great transformation and also such a great dispatch of a villain too. That being said, I don't like I think it's called Return of Cooler that much. And so we had it pretty good, but then you have Battle of Gods, which is absolutely excellent because it was the return of Dragon Ball and it's a celebration of all things Dragon Ball, to the point that they reintroduced Emperor Pilaf and his fucking goon squad to the new universe of Dragon Ball, which is an achievement in and of itself. But then you have all the goofy shit in that film that happens for the first hour, and it is utterly amazing. We've been over the evolution of Vegeta, where he's this smug-ass prince who believes that he is the hierarchy of all Saiyans, and now he's dancing on a stage, like doing the bingo dance so that the universe doesn't get destroyed. Battle of Gods is a gift. A controversial opinion, Resurrection of F just sucks. I don't think it is that good of a film. It's just, and Super doesn't do it any favors. I remember all the Broly stuff being okay, his Z version and his Super version. Considering Broly gets a supporting cast in Super, and considering the Gogeta theme with like the chorus in the back, that film got a lot of, boy, they opened the piggy bank for Broly. And then they opened it again for Superhero because that animation is wonderful and the Gamma androids are fantastic characters to the point that they have actual onomatopoeia graphics on screen when they destroy stuff. I think the only problem I have with Superhero is Cell Max feels incredibly superfluous, entirely unnecessary. It's just...
He's garbage.
Our film doesn't have enough fan service, so here's Cell. Again.
I call him Watermelon Cell because of his colors.
But yeah, Battle of Gods is the absolute peak of Dragon Ball movies. but I would like to again give a shout out to World's Strongest for having the most boomer ass professor in Dragon Ball history. For when he says, "Bring me the strongest warrior," you get Master Roshi, who hasn't been the strongest warrior in decades.
He still pulls off some badass moves in that movie, though. I will say that.
Yeah, like everyone does. It's World's Strongest feels like a Dragon Ball movie that happens to take place in Z's timeline, and I can't recommend it enough. It's a very underrated film nowadays.
All right, so we're moving on to the next question. What is your experience with some of the Dragon Ball games? Rad, it is your turn again.
Well, a lot of the Dragon Ball games I've played were rented. None of them have really stuck around to me. I obviously played the Budokai games when they were I didn't play the Budokai games until they were on GameCube, and even then I missed out on 3 for the longest time, which means I was also stuck with Dragon Ball Sagas, which you must never play. And then Dragon Ball games were just kind of here and there. I played Xenoverse for a bit because it seemed like a cool idea to make your own OG Dragon Ball character. That's very appealing. And obviously I got into Fighters, which, despite what we had just got a couple of weeks ago, it is still a really solid fighting game with an unthinkable collaboration between Arc System Works getting to use the Dragon Ball license, which had happened before, but not to this scale. That being said, when we're talking Dragon Ball games, I would like to give a shout out to the first Super Sonic Warriors on Game Boy Advance. It is a very simple game to pick up and play, and for those of you kids who are liking the Sparking Zero what-if battles, Super Sonic Warriors has some incredible what-if battles, like literally everything related to Piccolo's story that has cuts so deep that you have to bring characters in from OG Dragon Ball to solve the dilemma.
And you're done with this one, right?
Yes. Just wanted to give another shout out to the original Super Sonic Warriors. I am familiar with the fact that there is a sequel out there, but I haven't really played it that much compared to the original. I'm sure it's good, and I will try it at some point because I have been shown it before, but never really had hands on it.
It is Kaneki's turn. What do you think of the Dragon Ball games that you played?
I think for the most part, I've been playing mostly the Budokai Tenkaichi series, Xenoverse, Fighters. I think the only Dragon Ball game that caught my eye I think it was like a first, not a first, but it was a fighting game, but it was like underrated. You ever guys heard of like Super Dragon Ball for the PS2? I actually like that game.
That game's awesome.
Is that the arcade game made by Arika?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had that tracked down. I've been.
I even forgot Arika made that. I'm like, Arika made a Dragon Ball game?
That game gets brownie points because it includes Chi-Chi from the 23rd World Martial Arts Tournament.
Mm-hmm.
A character that fights for like half an episode. Kudos to you guys.
They really understand Chi-Chi. But outside of all those games, they really put an impact on me, especially when playing them. It's like you all the Dragon Ball moments, but in the video game, you play as like your favorite characters and relive their sagas and their moments. Sometimes they're what ifs, depending on the game, like Budokai Tenkaichi and the Raging Blast games, which I'm surprised no one has brought up yet. The Raging Blast games were really fun. And then Sparking Zero, which came out a few weeks ago, or last week or whatever. I think at this point they pushed the boundaries of what a Dragon Ball should be moving forward with Sparking Zero. It's like how guys can you push yourself further other than Sparking? It has to be like the Dragon Ball game of the century right here.
I feel like the bar of graphics and the way that the game presents itself and all the little Easter eggs and all the little interactions. I am from what I have played of Sparking Zero, I am now spoiled rotten by this game. I can't wait to see what they do with the DLC. And can I get a consideration for my girl Launch? She deserves to be in this game. Yeah, I heard that quote, Sparking Zero. Don't dick me around.
I remember Launch. Isn't she the girl that would get angry?
She's amazing. She's like this pretty little, pure, innocent, blue-haired girl, and then she sneezes.
So she sneezes.
And then all of a sudden, she's this hot, sexy action chick who comes equipped with machine gun accessory. Oh, it's just Dragon Ball used to be really funny.
They need to do that again. I think that'd be an excellent little transformation in battle. But
also give Rad Android 21 Sparking Zero.
Of course.
I don't even like 21 that much, but it feels like something's missing now, especially because she's canon. Thanks, superhero.
Oh shit! I never even noticed that.
Yeah, she's canon.
Holy shit! Okay.
I
didn't even know that. So go ahead.
Yeah, like Kakarot includes her as like a red ribbon scientist, at least the woman that 21 was based off of. So she technically exists. Like she's the best of the Dragon Ball OCs. Like when they have to make a video game character, 21 just stands above them all.
But we're moving on from that. So whose turn is it now? I guess it's my turn. So in terms of this, it's just kind of like I played a bunch of them, and now I didn't get a great head start because, well, I played Final Bout on the PS1, and I'm not gonna lie, the soundtrack is awesome in that game, but that game is ass. That game is very bad.
My condolences.
Just I don't know why. It's just so fucking awful, and I got tortured to play that. But I mean, it is what it is. That's how I got into Dragon Ball games the first time I was a kid. I didn't know any better. I was like, oh, this is the hypest stuff ever. Then the controls are terrible. It's like, but it got better over time. I believe the next game I play was definitely Budokai Tenkaichi 2, because I'm staring at it right now in my closet. And I played that game to death. So much so that I was not willing to give it back to the person who let me borrow it. So I just traded him for COD, Modern Warfare. And he was just like, you know what, I'll take it. So that's kind of how I got that copy in my closet. And I thought it was such a badass game. All the characters just permeating in that game, and the things you could do, just it felt like a true what is it, like just a battle of all the characters to that point, and you could just scrap in an arena and blow up the planet. And I thought it was the coolest shit ever. Fighter Z, I was a Fighter Z baby, so I was playing that for a little bit. I mostly played Super Vegeta, and I was kind of decimating people a little bit online until like I kind of fell out of it at the end. And I don't have experience with Sparking Zero, but it looks very fascinating to me the way they're handling it, putting in the superhero characters for DLC. It has me gripped. So Dragon Ball is a very right franchise for video games. I played a little bit of Kakarot as well, and I remember I kind of liked it with the whole open world RPG elements, go around, do stuff. I thought it was pretty cool. So my experience, except for Final Bout, has been really, really positive so far. So the next person I'm going to move on to is Nikki. What is your experience with Dragon Ball games?
You should see me in Budokai. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, that's a fight night.
Yes. Well, actually, no, I don't even remember how to play it. But in all honesty, the last time I remember playing Budokai, I was at a friend's house party, and people were getting in line for me just to kick their ass. would I be able to play it now? I don't know. I was drunk, so who knows? Maybe I play better when I had a couple to drink, but I am fairly decent in Fighter Z, I think, but I'm really just a button masher. And then once I kind of figured out what some of the characters do while I was button mashing, I just kind of like put that all into practice. So I would say, yeah, I'm actually pretty decent in Fighter Z. I'm sure if I were to play that with you guys, I'd probably get killed, but that's how all fighting games are with me. But no, Budokai's fun. I haven't played Sparking Zero yet. It was on display, like a demo was at Evo. I just couldn't get in line for that because the line was so long, wrapping around the corner like 3 times. It was that many people in line to play it.
For Sparking Zero demo?
I'm sorry?
For the Sparking Zero demo, there was like a lot of line.
Oh my god, the line was outrageous for it. All 3 days, I couldn't even get anywhere near.
That's the power of Dragon Ball right there.
Oh my god, yeah, it was really cool to see. You know what would be really interesting? And I say that I want a Dynasty Warriors for everything, but a Dragon Ball Z Dynasty Warriors would be pretty interesting. Or I should say like a Musou, like a Dragon Ball Z Musou would be pretty cool.
I'm surprised they haven't done one for Dragon Ball. They did one for Naruto, but
they did one for Naruto.
Yeah, it was on the PSP.
Yeah, they did one for One Piece. I think the anime ones that they've done was One Piece.
4 times they did it. I have one of the games. It's fun though.
Fist of the North Star, they did 2 of them.
Star. It's the other ones I think.
There's like 4 for Gundam.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Gundam ones. Yeah, I mean, of course, the most Musou one I want to see is Sailor Moon, but I think they could pull off Dragon Ball Musou, like with how many characters that they have and all the armies that they can fight, all the stages they can go to, all the realms they can go to. Yeah, I can see it. But I'm more of a fighting game person, so Budokai, Sparking, Fighter Z, all my thing.
But I was talking about Xenoverse. I kind of forgot to mention that in particular because I remember playing that for a little bit on the PS4 and I was very hooked on it for a little bit, even though it kind of went on a little bit too longer than I expected, but that was awesome. So, Tolkien, it is your turn. What is your experience with Dragon Ball games?
Well, I'll probably have the quickest answer because I obviously didn't play any up until, I don't know, this year because I wasn't a fan. But aside from the casual, maybe 2 hours I've put into Kakarot and getting invited via Steam to get my ass beat in Sparking Zero, I haven't played anything. But if I have time, I plan on maybe joining the masses and getting Sparking Zero for myself and playing.
My response, let me beat your ass, is Sparking Zero 2.
Oh, wait, hold on. There's another Dragon Ball game that I forgot. I'm not gonna let those games, be disrespected. Remember the Legacy of Goku games on the Game Boy Advance?
I remember Boo's Fury and not much else.
One too. I would recommend playing those games. Those games are the reason why we got Kakarot. If you like the Legacy of Goku games, you would definitely like Kakarot.
Who else didn't go? Jojo, did you go yet?
No, I didn't.
Go ahead.
I would say I really, really love the Budokai games. Like, I couldn't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours I spent in Budokai 3 on the PS2, and then nearly beat the shit out of my friend Bert when he accidentally deleted my save file, you bastard!
And there you go.
Okay, there we go. I have not played Sparking Zero yet, but I really want to because I loved Budokai 3, Budokai Tenkaichi 3, and I'm one of the few people that's still steadily supporting Xenoverse 2, so I'm playing the shit out of that still. And Fighter Z satisfied my craving that I've had for the longest time for Marvel vs. Capcom style fighting game set in the Dragon Ball universe. Like, I can't believe it took them that long for it to happen, and the only time it happened before, unless you want to count like Hyper Dimension on the Super Nintendo, was like Super Dragon Ball Z on the PS2. And I would say the most underrated Dragon Ball game, in my opinion, is Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I know the thing gets crazy with the canon, and it's literally got no substance. But if you just let it entertain you, I'm sure you'll have a good time.
All right, we are moving on to the next question. Best and worst fights that you've seen in the Dragon Ball franchise. Any saga can apply, and I'm going to start with JoJo first.
I would have to say my favorite fight. Oh gosh, that's a good one. I would say my favorite fight was probably, I gotta say, Goku versus Vegeta in the Saiyan saga. You know, up there with Goku versus Frieza. You know, we learned how long 5 minutes on Planet Namek actually is. As for my least favorite fight, it's a hard one. Damn, that is a hard one. I would have to say maybe the fight between Cell and Android 16, because that one didn't go on really as long as I would have liked. Like, I think that one could have gone a little bit long. They could have done more with that fight, I should say.
You know, I'm gonna go next. There's a couple that's kind of on my mind. I believe that Piccolo versus Android 17, the straight gut shots. It's just I just will never forget that scene where they are just constantly punching each other in the stomach, and it's just like, who's gonna get punched in the abdomen next? Find out on Dragon Ball Z. And they kept going for like a solid minute. I thought that was crazy. I loved it. As for another fight, I'm going to have to say, just the sheer tension of Goku and Vegeta 2 when they're fighting as Super Saiyan 2s. I loved it throughout. Lots of action, you don't know who's gonna one up who, even though Goku's like the strongest at this time because Super Saiyan 3 hidden and Vegeta doesn't know about it. And he calls him out later, which makes it even funnier when you think about that fight. So I'm just like, that's funny. And it's also kind of funny too when he has Goku on the wall and he like slaps him a little bit and he breaks out and he punches him in the face with a rock and Vegeta gets rocked. No pun intended, by the way. I just love that fight too. And I guess one more would be, I really liked the fight with Goku Black versus Trunks and Goku, because the animations were crazy, and I believe the breaking point of that fight was when Goku Black like kind of killed his own family or whatever. He killed like Chi-Chi and everyone, and Goku got like really mad about it. And it's like, I know it's him from another universe, but still, he got like really mad, and Zamatsu and Goku Black got like super owned in that little section, and I just remember him doing the back punch and him falling into a building. I was like, oh, this is so hype. This is so awesome. There's plenty of other fights as well, like obviously Goku versus Frieza just is probably my number one most iconic. It's just, you can feel the desperation. I'm talking from start to finish, where it's like Goku has no chance and Frieza's like stepping on his hands. He's trying to torture him just like Vegeta. It's kind of awful in a sense, but he's not backing down. And then you get the iconic moment, which I'm probably going to talk about later, for the transformation. But I really enjoyed this, like super hardcore. It was violent, it was nice. It took like 5 minutes for a planet to explode, even though it was like 1 million episodes. It felt like that, and I got blue balled each and every single time. I remember I had to go to school, and I'm like, on the next time Dragon Ball Z, will the planet blow up? And I just remember that cliffhanger. I'm like, I hate it. I want to know what happens to Goku. I want to know what happens. What's going on? So I really enjoyed that. That's really good television, even though I was like super pissed about it. As for least favorite fight, it's kind of difficult when you really think about it. I don't know. I have like some disappointing ones, like ones that could have been a little bit better. I personally think that, you know, if Gotenks versus Boo was just kind of, you know, that was a child show at a certain level of thinking. I think that was like, you could throw that out. Then he gets absorbed and it's just like, okay. But it's just a couple of disappointing ones. Some of the tournament joke fights, I understand they're jokes, but I still don't feel like they were of any substance except for a few in some of the older Dragon Balls, because they had like better fights in there in general, like Goku versus Piccolo, which was very, very good. But yeah, it's just a few couple of disappointing ones and maybe some joke battles which didn't really make me laugh. Some did, some didn't. But I can't think of one that's super pertinent off the top of my head. I would say though, I did not like the whole what was it, Frieza and obviously Vegeta battle in Resurrection F. I thought that was handled poorly. Even though I get it, it's supposed to be a squash match. I just think to myself, okay, this is supposed to be the grand revenge Vegeta gets, and is ruined because Frieza blows up the planet. So I'm just like, this is kind of awful actually for a character arc. I believe it was done better the way it was originally, where he just dies, Vegeta dies, and then the time he gets his revenge is pretty much wasted. So I did not like that at all, especially when Goku just came in and saved the day, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Just, it pisses me off so much. I don't even know where to begin. But that is my favorite and least favorite fights of Dragon Ball, and we will go with Kaneki next. What is your favorite and least favorite?
Obviously, my all-time favorite would always be the Goku versus Frieza in Planet Namek, because from start to finish, like you said, it was even with the extra episodes, it was so worth it in the end, because well, how Frieza tortured Goku to where Goku finally unleashed his Super Saiyan form. It's like, just because he killed Krillin, his best friend. It's like, oof. That's when the fight goes real raw, like way out. I really like those type of build-ups. I think my second favorite would be Gohan versus Cell. When Gohan finally transformed to his Super Saiyan 2, and that also went raw, especially when he's fucking up Cell so much to where he didn't even kill him immediately. He was just like, let him suffer some more, playing around until the end, of course, where he had no choice but to kill him. Resurrected. It was such a golden. I don't know how much better they can go with the fights. I think my also favorite fight was like at the beginning of this, not the beginning of the Saiyan Saga, but during the Saiyan Saga, where Goku and Vegeta fought for the very first time. The throwdowns, like even in their base form. So before Super Saiyan was even a transformation, like even a thought, the throwdown between those two was something I'll never forget. And especially with a certain grade 8 form that people Sparking Zero when Sparking Zero was out. The worst fights, I think so far the worst fight I could think of is Gohan versus Majin Buu, specifically Super Buu. Gohan was whooping his ass, right? He said he was gonna kill Super Buu. He was beating his ass, like he actually was gonna kill him. No, that's not what happened. Super Buu decided, okay, let me absorb you. At least that's how I remember. He absorbed him. Like, bro, what was the point of that fight if you're just gonna do that to Gohan? There's so much for Gohan. Training for all that, just to get. It was so disappointing.
Nikki, how about you? What is your favorite and least favorite fights in Dragon Ball?
So one of the fights that I will always remember is the Goku versus Frieza fight. The first one, I mean. And the funny thing is, I remember seeing that video. Well, I remember seeing the fight in the AMV for the first time, because when Dragon Ball first came over here, we were at the Cell Games, if I remember. And then of course it just kept, after one episode of the Cell Games, it would just keep going back to the Saiyan saga. It would just go right back to Raditz. But I remember specifically with the Goku and Frieza fight was the first time I'd ever heard this band Hypocrisy, who later on became one of my favorite bands. And one of their songs called Destroyed on the Catch-22 album was, or they had used that song in a AMV with Goku versus Frieza, and is probably the best AMV I've ever seen. And I just remember that fight being so freaking badass. Another fight I really enjoyed, honestly, I enjoyed it at the time. When I saw the fight again in Dragon Ball Z Kai, I was like, hell, how did I enjoy this thing? Vegeta versus Android 18. I remember back when I first saw the fight, I thought it was like really, really cool fight. And then when I saw it again, I was like, oh, this fight was boring. I don't even know why I liked it. But I would say another one of my favorite iconic fights was Teen Goku versus Cell. The whole one-arm Kamehameha, that was so badass. That was absolutely Gohan's moment of glory, moment of shine in the entire anime. But if you ask me, my favorite, yeah, it's Goku and Frieza. Actually, I did like Trunks fighting the two androids in the future. That was pretty cool too. But yeah, definitely Goku versus Frieza.
Yeah, I also want to do an honorable mention. I really think that this is just for more disappointing fights in general. You could easily go back to the super battles when they did the early stages and the animations just did not look good and the drawings did not look good and people kind of roasted it. So yeah, I would definitely say those are pretty terrible. But Tolkien, how about you? What is your favorite fights, least favorite? Go ahead.
Oh, brother. So I sat here earlier trying to come up with my answers, since I like to prep ahead of time. And I'm thinking through all the fights, and I'm like, oh my God, I like this one. Oh my God, I like this one. And I'm just like, there's so many good ones for so many different reasons. So it was so hard to just whittle it down. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try to pick ones that probably no one else will do. So some of the ones I came up with was, I really like the battle between Hit and Goku in the Universe 6 and 7 tournament. Because it's up until that point, Hit had never met someone who could figure out just exactly how his ability works. And to see Goku, of all people, figure it out, and then the what happens after that was so good to see. Plus, Hit, for me, is one of my favorite characters just in general. I think he's a really cool character, like an assassin, and his ability is really interesting, and just overall I really liked that fight. I also really liked the future Trunks versus Zamasu. I loved the whole future Trunks arc in general, but Trunks being able to have a massive part of that was so nice to see, because I like him as a character. I don't think he got to do a whole lot in so many areas. And then a third one I picked was, I really enjoyed the Super 17 versus Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Android 18. You finally, after settling down with Krillin and everything, you don't see her do much, and she's probably one of my favorite females in the whole series. And to see her get to do something, and her being basically Android herself, and she shows so much emotion for Krillin, someone who she didn't even really care about when she first met, obviously. It's the same with Vegeta showing his care for Bulma later on. It's just, it hits so hard when you see her so upset over Krillin dying, and she gets so mad at 17 about it. It's just, the whole thing was so great for me. worst one of them is, as Ren said, is the fucking golden Frieza, and it's supposed to be Vegeta's shining moment, and essentially Goku kill steals, and it was so let down for me, and I hated it so much. But just to throw a jab in there, another one I really wanted to just say, even though it's not really a fight, is Yamcha getting absolutely blown to pieces by a Cyberman. Like, it's just the saddest thing I've ever seen. Like, bruh. That's it for me.
Apparently every time he lays down like that, it happens in baseball as well. So I remember they referenced that in Super, and it was kind of funny.
Why he sucks at baseball too? His own game?
His own game. He's going back to the dugout.
Considering everyone else was either a Super Saiyan or like a god of destruction at that time, kind of, and Yamcha's Yamcha.
Krillin is not all that, and yet he's stronger than fucking Yamcha. He's like the strongest human.
Yeah, exactly. But Yamcha's Yamcha.
Jesus, man.
All right, before I continue, has everyone gone yet?
I haven't.
All right.
Okay, so best fight took a while for me to think of. Worst fight took no time at all.
Go ahead.
You guys love the brutality and violence of Dragon Ball, and I'm a little bit iffy on it. Because when you get the brutality of violence of Dragon Ball, you get Videl versus Spofovich.
I know he's going to bring that up.
It is the worst fight, because you can go on about, man, this fight sucks because it is so disappointing and all the build-up, and it's over like that. That fight never ends, and Videl, who was a cool up-and-coming character, she's learning how to fight, she's learning how to be a proper martial artist, she's learning how to fly. We might actually get another competent woman fighting character. No, she gets brutalized, and poor Gohan just gets to sit there and watch it, unless you're playing Sparking Zero, which that's the way you unlock her. That fight is so incredibly hard to watch for me. I've never gone to the fast forward button harder whenever I have to rewatch Z. That fight is needlessly brutal, and it's one of those moments where I'm glad that Dragon Ball has toned down the violence. But best fight is an OG Dragon Ball for me. Goku versus Jackie Chun in the 21st World Martial Arts Tournament, because it's Goku and his master getting to fight it out on the world stage, and watching Jackie Chun pull out all of his tricks that are very similar to the ones Master Roshi has, and watching Goku not only match him but perfect on it. It's such a beautiful fight, because everything Goku can do, whether he's in control or not, and everything that Jackie Chun can do, whether it's his technique or not, is used in that fight. And the way it ends is so unbelievably clever. I don't know of any other manga where one's height has been the deciding factor of the difference between victory and defeat. But it's such an incredible fight. It's the peak of not just OG Dragon Ball, but Dragon Ball in general. Because it's not just a fight. It's a lesson for Goku that he is not the strongest, and that there are people out there whose skill that you can't even fathom.
All right, we're moving on to the next question. Best.
Wait, did anyone else go?
I think that was it. That was everyone, right?
Did you? You went, Jojo?
Yeah, I went. I think I was like the second one.
All right, so we're gonna do best and worst technique from Dragon Ball. Anything from any saga can apply, and we're gonna start with Kaneki first.
The best and worst techniques. You know, I haven't even thought about that. I will say the worst techniques in the games It's definitely solo flare, but if we're talking about in the show, I think the worst techniques, unfortunately, is when we progress later into the story of Z and Super. The Wolf Fang Fist. I'm sorry, it's like Yamcha's that joke of a character. They even made that move like a joke. Like no one falls for that move anymore, and that move used to be actually cool in the OG Dragon Ball. Now it's awful. That's probably my only worst technique I could think of. I think my favorite and best technique is when Roshi like sends the villains into like those little. I forgot what it's called, but that was my favorite move of him.
It's the Mafuba.
Yeah,
the evil
Uba.
containment wave.
Yeah, that one. That was my favorite technique.
Oh my god, when they brought that back in Super?
Yes. And now it's a move now in the future Dragon Ball. Yes. They remember that fucking evil containment move. It's so good. I'm done.
Rat, your turn.
This one was kind of difficult. I really had to sort of think about what's like the best technique, bar none. What's like the coolest, most straightforward. You wish you could have that technique, and it's got the best name: Hell Zone Grenade.
Shit.
Piccolo
That was a good one.
just fires shots up, down, left, right, east, west, north, south, and then he just closes his hands, and all those blasts like zero in on their intended target, and it's even got it's an attack that's as cool as its name. I really couldn't think of anything else that generally tops it. I'm afraid I have to abstain from worst because I really don't have one other than lame stuff like Galactic Donuts, where it's like the worst name ever. It's like, wow, you throw a bunch of rings and they wrap around the opponent. It's like the average Dragon Ball character can break out of like circular restraints in their sleep.
Raditz had better cool what is it, super moves than fucking Galactic Donut?
Double Sunday!
Saturday Crunch!
The Saiyans should not know about the days of the Earth calendar, but yeah, it's whatever. Well, I'm basically done for best and worst.
I'm gonna take the helm. I have a few simple ones. Like mine's are simple for best. Obviously, the father-son Kamehameha is a really cool move. I like that. The emotional context behind it is also pretty great. I like when it sorta comes back with the brother Kamehameha with Gohan and Goten. That's also pretty cool when we saw that. So I just think it's a really emotionally powerful move. I also like Final Flash. Again, simple stuff. Vegeta's just like, especially in the Cell Saga where he's like powering up and the earth is like shaking while he's doing it, and Cell's just like sitting there smiling, and then when he fires, it's like, oh shit, this is all bets are off, and then it hits him and half of his body is like just decimated. I understand it does nothing, but it was still a very cool moment when he did it in the Cell Saga. Another one, special being canon. I said this before in the chat that we're talking in. I think it's a really powerful, devastating move, and the way it looks, where it's like this spiral and this other beam going straight through it, and then it hits the opponent and it just pierces them. It's so awesome looking, especially when it was done the first time in the earlier Dragon Ball sagas, like Saiyan Saga, where Piccolo hits Raditz and Goku with it, and it really does damage. As for worst technique, I kind of struggled with this, and I feel like it's not relevant anymore. I kind of just searched around to get some answers on like Reddit or something, and I kind of agree with this one guy where he says like the Namekian gigantification is just so worthless now, because it's like, what's the point really at this certain point of them getting bigger, and then they get slaughtered anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter anymore compared to the other stronger like opponents out there. It's like, why would you do it? It was a technique that really was menacing in Dragon Ball, absolutely. When Piccolo did that the first time, it was like, holy shit, look at him now, he's like just this size of a tower. But if he did that now, he'd probably get squashed. So I'm just like, yeah, I don't see it having any pertinence whatsoever anymore to the other powers that exist that could probably take someone out immediately, or people that are way too strong with God Ki, where they would look at that and they would go, look at this joke, let me just kill this guy over here. So that's what I think. I think that is worthless as it stands now. But moving on, it is Nikki's turn. What is your least favorite technique in Dragon Ball?
I mean, I'm gonna be pretty generic with my answer. I really did like the Kamehameha. I thought that was pretty, of course, it's iconic. Spirit Bomb, I liked. What else? I'm also kind of halfway falling asleep, so if I start to doze off with my answers, you get it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much about it for my answer.
Do you have your worst?
Huh?
Do you have your worst techniques?
My worst techniques? I
Yeah.
don't really. I can't even think of any, to be honest. Like, my mind's
Okay.
kind of blanking when it comes to that. But yeah, I mean, the iconic ones, Kamehameha is good. Spirit Bomb.
Someone
Like
said
that. I think there's
something
a
so funny.
Gaelic Bomb is pretty cool.
Yeah, someone said something so funny. Chaosu blowing himself up. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my god, yes.
That's not a technique. That's the best desperation.
Yeah.
That's a kamikaze.
And then it ultimately did not work because Nappa still lived.
Yeah, so unfortunately his sacrifice was in vain, but
Snap was like, "What the fuck was that shit?" Oh,
he's like the
it was that
little
little
guy on
turd.
his back, and Nappa's like, get this little shit off me.
Tolkien, it is your turn. What is your best and worst techniques?
Well, since you decided to be copycat and take Piccolo's special being canon, which was mine,
Oop.
aside from that one, I really like that one because of the way it looks. I kind of figured no one would pick it. I kind of figured everybody was going to be saying like Kamehameha and Big Bang and Final Flash and all these other ones that are just, the big ones. But aside from that one, I really like the look of Dragon Fist. I think that one looks pretty cool. Worst, I even searched like Google for this one because there's so many techniques. I was like, okay, I can't really think of any that are that awful. But somebody was like, oh, Tien's clones, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that was garbage. Like, why are you dividing your strength into multiple? Like, it doesn't work in Dragon Ball like it does in Naruto. It actually works there, but in here, no. But I was like, okay, yeah, that was pretty garbage.
No shadow clone for him. It does not have the same effect.
Well, if they ever fought a character from Naruto, he wouldn't need it because they could get blown up one hit.
Yeah, you're right about that. The power scaling for Dragon Ball is off the charts. Like it's no way. You have to find some other godly universe to compare it to. But we are moving on to the next one, and this is going to be a long one. I know this one.
Wait, I didn't go. I didn't. You skipped me again. What the hell?
Oh, it glitched out again, Jojo. My bad. I'm sorry.
Glitched out. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
It was a glitch in the system, as I was saying.
All right. I've already got my two answers in mind for worst and best. I'll go with worst. Wolf Fang Fist, mainly because it started off as a cool as a cool move, and like when I first saw it watching Dragon Ball after seeing Yamcha fail at everything in life, because I watched Z first, and seeing Yamcha do this badass Wolf Fang Fist, and it's only cool like the first few times. After that, it just doesn't work, or he just stops using it. It's like Yamcha himself. He becomes very ineffective very fast. My favorite attack, I can't believe no one said this, Kaioken. Like, I love that attack. I love that technique because it's one of those abilities where it's got like a negative side to it. Like if you use it too much, you could destroy your body. You could hurt yourself. But I'm not gonna lie, seeing Goku use the Kaioken attack to defeat Nappa after all the shit he did to Piccolo and all the other characters, like it was so satisfying to see that. And not gonna lie, like after I grew up and I started, working and stuff, like whenever I did anything physically demanding, like moving furniture or taking out trash at McDonald's when I was working there, I would say under my breath, Kaioken. I'm not gonna lie, I did that, and yes, I was a grown man when that happened. I know that's dorky of me, but those are my two favorites. I mean, I guess another technique I kind of like is the Kikoko, because again, I like a technique that has a negative side to it. So yeah, those are my favorite moves.
I mean, Jojo,
favorite, yeah.
Jojo, when you have to pick up trash or whatever, you don't have to say Kaioken. Just wear a girdle and you'll be fine.
Oh, well, very funny, smart guy. Have you worked at a McDonald's picking up like when those trash bags are full and you got to take them to the dumpster? They're pretty damn heavy.
So I'd rather not. I'd rather just say, look, just blow up this establishment. No, I'm kidding. But we're moving on to the next question. That is transformations. There's a lot of them. I tried to categorize this as favorite transformation or least favorite. You could bring up fusions as well. I guess those counts. And you can also bring up favorite transformation moments if you can't think of anything else. We're gonna start with Kaneki first.
And me again. My first, what is it? The best transformation, or I guess my favorite transformation once again. Actually, no, not once again. Before I pick, that would be Super Saiyan Rose. I do like the Ultra Instinct transformation, as much as some people don't like it because it's like he automatically dodges a lot of shit. Like his power is beyond than the usual idea of power that Son Goku has throughout the whole series, and then the manga as well. But I like that transformation. Super Saiyan Rose, I do like that because while again in Super, it was the hair coloring. Not many people liked for the new transformation. I do not mind pink hair. I do not mind the pink hair because the pink hair, they was killing it with Goku Black, and the fact that he uses his sights whenever he goes to Super Saiyan Rose for one of his signature moves. It's like, all right, I like this transformation. And then the other transformation I like would be the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and it's not even in the main series. They show much of that transformation, in my opinion. It's in the movies where they show what a Super Saiyan 3 can really do, and in that transformation. It's like, I'm surprised Vegeta never got that transformation. Only in Raging Blast 1 and 2 he gets that transformation. And Broly. I can't think of a worse transformation, in my opinion. It might be a hot take, potential Unleash Gohan, if you know that transformation.
Is that what is it? Is that Mystic or something else?
Yeah, it's Mystic Gohan.
Oh.
Yeah, Mystic Gohan's actually the fan name. That's not the official name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I remember that when I first see it, the transformation itself, I didn't hate it. It's just like the way they portrayed it that made me hate it so much. When he transforms into that, you're it's like, wait a minute, why did he power down? Why did he power down to face like a stronger enemy? But then you realize, as when he's about to fight, he didn't power down. That's his new transformation.
Yeah,
The way they
he
presented it, in
still
my
looks
opinion, was lame.
he still looks like he's in base, which I mean, it's the idea is kind of cool, but I just wish they did something else with it.
I'm glad Beast was a transformation that Gohan Beast was a thing. There was a thing called Gohan Blanco. That's like the new Gohan meme going around, and I'm kind of glad they took notes from that in terms of the transformation.
I just noticed JoJo's name. That's Bulma Simp. Okay, uh,
Damn,
Bulma Simp.
that's all I got.
Yeah, Bulma Simp. You can go next on this question with transformation. Hey, this is Dave. It's not my fault. I'm just reading it.
It's not. Hey, he's just reading it anyway. I would have to say my most favorite transformation has to be Super Saiyan 4. The freaking
Hey,
the muscle expansion, the badass looking hair, how it's not just, blonde hair with more stuff. It's its own, unique thing. And
and they got their tails back.
Yep, they got their tails back, and Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta look amazing. I think like Super Saiyan, I think the Super Saiyan 4 version of Goku that they use for Super Dragon Ball Heroes is like the best looking Super Saiyan 4 I've ever seen. I really, really hope they do more with Super Saiyan 4 in the future. Another form that I liked a lot is Cell's final transformation. Like, I would have to say that transformation is like my favorite looking character in all of Dragon Ball, because he looks so damn intimidating and scary. He's all tall and he's got that tall thing on his head, that crown.
When he first transformed to Perfect Cell, or when he came back alive?
I'll say it when he came back alive, because he basically was in his form of Super Saiyan 2, because you could see the lightning aura and everything.
Yeah.
And it was through that made me think, if Cell just did that a couple hundred more times, like somewhere else, nobody would stand a chance against him. My least favorite transformation, I don't know if you want to count this as one, but that evil Buu, that evil gray Buu, that Majin Buu, like, I guess just expels from his body. I don't know if you want to count that as a transformation, but I hated it. It just looked so stupid. It's just so dumb. I didn't like it. I'm like, how could this skinny little thing win? And there he goes. Yes, that picture you just posted, Ren. That is one of the most badass pictures of Cell ever. Also, I also wondered, like, do you think that also on the topic of Cell transformations, do you think he would have a different second form if he absorbed Android 18 first? That's what I've always wondered.
I'm not sure, because he did look like vastly different when he had one of the androids, maybe.
Yeah, after he absorbed 17, he was all, bulky and big. Like, I think if he absorbed 18 first, he'd probably be more slender. Like, he'd probably be really, really fast and really hard to hit or something.
I will choose Rat next for transformations.
Legendary Super Saiyan. Because the second it happens, it is as if all color and space and time in the world itself just collapses. It applies to just all of them, Broly and Kale alike, because when the transformation happens, the presentation of it, where it's as if the universe is focused on a singular point and the very fabric just can't function because the power is just that dramatic and illogical. But I generally love how the transformation is presented. Yes, there is the impact of the original Super Saiyan. Yes, there is the music around Ultra Instinct, but to me, there is no topping Legendary Super Saiyan. It is just such a mind-bending visual on its own. As for worst, this is going to be a volcanic take. I really don't like the fusion technique, because it feels like you get the same effect out of just Potara earrings, and we can do that, but you have to do a stupid dance and your fingertips have to touch just right, or you end up with an anorexic goof. See whatever Go Tanks' first attempt was. I don't know, we could really do without fusion, but then again, I am more of a Vegito than a Gogeta guy.
It depends on the Gogeta for me. If we're gonna have that conversation,
Yeah.
like I like Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta more than Super Gogeta.
It's Z Vegito, because when he finishes you off with like a blade of energy and just lifts you off it.
Oh
I like
yeah,
that transformation.
That cathartic beatdown Vegito was giving Boo was, oh my god, the way he would talk so much shit to Boo as he was doing it, and just he wasn't even trying.
Oh, that's the best Vegeta. That's hands down. That's the best personality. Being cocky.
I guess I'll go next. I'm gonna start with worst, because I think that answer is a little bit more clear for me. The Super Saiyan Rage transformation for Trunks, it's not like the worst one in the world, but it's so disappointing, because here's this power up and it looks similar to the Super Great transformation, even though Trunks said it was, it was bulky or whatever, blah blah blah. But this one is kind of like, he has a cool blue aura, which I thought it was God Key at first, but it turns out it's not. And then all of a sudden he gets in his transformation. It's like, oh, this is cool. He's gonna whoop Goku Black's ass, but it turns out to be literally nothing, a nothing burger. And just the fact that it's no different from any transformation you've probably seen thus far with Super Saiyans is very disappointing. I'm also gonna give a hot take here. I'm not really the biggest fan of the Super Saiyan God transformation with the red hair and the lanky body. I just feel like it's not enough, in my honest opinion, compared to something like a Super Saiyan 4, where they literally tap into the Uzaru, where it's like a more humanoid Uzaru, and in terms of appearance and everything, it looks more badass than this. I did not like the base, Super Saiyan God form with the red hair. The aura looks nice with the fire and everything, but everything else, except for the music, is kind of lackluster, in my honest opinion. I almost don't know why they had moments where they were clearly beyond a Super Saiyan God and they turned into it anyway in the movie. I guess that was just Vegeta trying to flex on Broly, but still, I was kind of like, okay, you're more stronger than this. Come on. But as for great transformations, ones that I actually like, I'm gonna say Super Saiyan 4, obviously, without a doubt. And mostly, I would say Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, because I really like the red hair. The red hair is like kind of awesome. Big Bang,
S-tier.
just S-tier stuff all around. He looks awesome. The blue eyes, red hair, the aura, everything is just like fire with this character design wise. In terms of anything else, let me see.
Wait.
Hmm?
Wait, does non-canon transformations count?
Yes, if you want to name them.
Oh, easy. Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly.
I forgot those were a thing in certain games.
Rage and Blast.
Yeah,
There was also Super Dragon Ball Heroes, where future Trunks went Super Saiyan God by accident.
Oh, that's fucking cool. I actually like that. Those are really cool. I like these what if sort of transformations and everything. I personally believe they should tap into those and see what they could do with them.
What's
Pokemon
cool
Sparking
is
Zero.
what's cool is with Super Saiyan God Trunks, they actually made his hair more unique. Like it's still red, but it's all flowy and crap. Almost like when he had long hair, only prettier, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, if they made it, oh, I see it now. Yeah,
I posted a picture in the chat. Yeah.
If they made it like that, where the hair kind of is a little bit more dynamic in a way, I would have liked that a lot more. But going back to my favorites, I will say, damn it, I had it on the tip of my tongue, I lost it. But there was a transformation that I really enjoyed like a lot. I think it's Ultra Instinct. Yes.
I do like that too.
Ultra Instinct is just the definition of badass in Tournament of Power. Goku just, the main thing is just defense and dodging like literally everything that you come across. Like no one can touch you. The way he moves is also really fucking badass, and you can say yes, it's simplistic when he has like these silver strands in his hair and he gets the full silver or whatever, but just the absolute buffoonery of this, like the transformation is just sick. I think it's one of the better ones from Super, actually, with the way they coordinated it and the way it looks.
Yep, I agree.
If I have one more, I'm going to also say probably I really love Super Saiyan 3. I know it's the long ass hair and everything, but the fact that you cannot be in this form long, and the way that it's cool and the way that it looks, I always use Super Saiyan 3 like no matter what when I had Goku back in the old days of Budokai Tenkaichi 3. I just thought that it looked kind of a natural evolution, and it looked awesome, man, from Super Saiyan 2. So I will have to say that as well. And those are my answers. Tolkien, it is your turn. What is your least favorite transformations?
Well, I have none left because you had to have a laundry list
I'm
and
sorry.
just take all of them. I had a first, a second, and a third favorite, and he took all of them.
Was Ultra Instinct one of them?
Yes.
I am the answer.
To be fair, I said it first. He didn't steal it first.
Well,
I'm the answer stealer. Go on.
Yeah, well, when you put me last for every question, I wonder why. So, yeah, those three were probably my favorite. Would be Super Saiyan 3. The second I saw Super Saiyan 3, I immediately liked it because it was so vastly different from Super Saiyan 1 and 2 with the long hair. We don't get to see it as often as I would like, but I do enjoy that one. I always liked it when we got to see Goku hit Ultra Instinct. I just liked the whole aura and the abilities he gets with it. It was just very unique. And then, but my favorite has to be Super Saiyan 4. Granted, it's not canon. If I could pick one thing from GT to be canon, it would be that and nothing else, because most of everything else was absolute garbage. But the form itself is so cool. It's so different than what you would expect. You get the fur and the tail, and the hair is not golden anymore. And overall, I think it's a really, really nice design. Now, worst, bruh. Surprised no one said it yet, but worst has got to be for me third form Frieza. Bruh, not only did he rip off Alien, but the man has a fucking dildo head. Like, who designed this? It's so ugly. Like, there's nothing cool about it. It's so, like, bad. Like, get it off the screen. I could not wait until I didn't have to see it. And if I had to pick another one, and then its second form Cell, it's just weird. Like, the way his lips are and everything, it's just, bruh, come on. I don't know. That's gotta be awful.
I mean, Frieza agrees with you since he doesn't use those first three forms anymore. Actually, no. Besides his normal base form, he only uses his final form and Golden.
Tolkien really out here talking about phallic heads. Like, what is this podcast? Bruh. Wait a minute.
Bruh, it is a straight dildo. Whoever designed that needs help. I'm like, stop.
To quote Johnny Cage, your head looks like a dildo.
It's Japan.
Oh, well.
Oh, I have one honorable mention. I promise I'll move on after this.
Oh, bro, come on.
We just one. Cooler, where he looks like Shredder. That final form.
Oh, you mean final form Cooler? Yes.
Yes, this is the most hype looking fucking thing I think I've ever seen.
That's the Cooler standard. Not even his base form. Let him. Final form as the base.
In Super Dragon Ball Heroes, that form can go golden.
Dude, let this dude be canon. Just make a cooler Dragon Ball Super movie, and I will give you all of my money.
I want him to be canon, not Frieza.
Please.
I mean,
I beg
revived.
I beg of you, make this canon for the love of God.
Like all now the characters to be revived. Why not cooler instead of the for only time he would be canon?
Jojo, did you go yet?
For least favorite forms.
Favorite, least favorite.
Yeah, I said Super Saiyan form is Super Saiyan 4 is my favorite, and I'd say least. I can't remember what I said was my least favorite.
The WAP go, Nikki?
No, I didn't go yet.
Good.
So I would say, I mean, I have a pretty, I don't want to say generic answer, but kind of a generic answer. It's the first time that Vegeta ever became Super Saiyan, because he always felt like that he was lower, or, you know, he always liked to talk a big game that he was more powerful than Goku in general. Generally, he probably wasn't, that he was one step below him. And when he saw that Goku became Super Saiyan before him, it almost felt like it was like the end of Vegeta's life. That everything that he had fought for, everything that he had been through in his life, only to watch your rival become the most powerful being at the time, right before your eyes, you're like, what's my meaning in life then now? So for him to finally achieve Super Saiyan form, even if it's, you know, Super Saiyan 1, but at the time that was the most powerful. For him to finally achieve Super Saiyan after how much he had wanted it, amazing, just amazing. And I would say my least favorite transformation, yeah, definitely one of the Cell transformations. I think it was 2, where he just ended up looking like a Lavos reject. Like, I just thought it was so stupid. Like, why are you letting him even get stronger when you know damn well when he's at phase 1, you can probably just kill him then and there. But then you don't have the whole Trunk, or not the whole Trunk series. You don't have the whole Cell game series if you kill him at level 1. But yeah, I will definitely say Vegeta becoming Super Saiyan for the first time. Great storytelling, a great part of his character, a great part of his character development also.
I just love that whole notion of him being called a Lavos reject. That was I was laughing so hard while muted. But has everyone gone yet? I believe everyone has. Going once,
Yep.
Going twice. Okay. So we are moving on to the next one. We are going to be talking about sagas at this point. As I said in the document, if you don't remember or if you want to skip, just let me know. But the best and worst sagas of the original Dragon Ball. We will go with Mr. Rat first.
This is like picking your favorite child. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so I'm not too fond of the Red Ribbon Army, with a small little pocket exception of when Goku chases down General Blue to Penguin Village, and then Dragon Ball just turns into a Dr. Slump crossover, which I'm very fond of whenever Dragon Ball goes into the Dr. Slump hole, because it's one of Toriyama's finest non-Dragon Ball works, because then you get Arale getting to headbutt a Red Ribbon Army member, and Arale is just a genuine gem of fiction. So, aside from that, Red Ribbon Army and all that stuff is probably the weakest element, because you're going from these adventures where you're hunting down the Dragon Balls and you're making your wish come true, to these martial arts tournaments where it's some of the most skilled fighters in the world get to participate. You just get soldiers with guns for the most part, and there are exceptions to the rule, but that's kind of what they are. When it comes down to best, it's not fair. Like, the first World Martial Arts Tournament and everything that comes about, training with Roshi and all the awkward methods that Roshi uses to train Goku and Krillin, like go take milk across the neighborhood, go get me a hot girl that'll hang out in my house, and and then you obviously get to the fights of the 21st, where it's like you get Goku versus Nam and how that ends. You get Krillin versus Bacterian. You get Goku versus Giran, which monsters are just hanging out in Dragon Ball world. And of course, you get the finale I've already gone over with Goku versus Jackie Chun, which is just an amazing fight on its own. For those of you who started out with Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super, if you want yourself an adventure manga with plenty of old school comedic elements, I urge you, please go back and watch the original Dragon Ball. It is a timeless gem of a series.
I'm gonna go really brief since it is allowed that you can answer bits and pieces of sagas partially if you've seen some of them, and I have seen some of Dragon Ball. I don't know which arcs these are in particular order, but I do remember the tournament stuff where they had that, and Tien fought Yamcha, and I think he like broke his leg or something, and that was like a little bit of a moment. I just think seeing the humble beginnings of those characters and them interacting with each other as they got like closer and closer, and they were like rivals at one point, and then you see how they turn friends and everything. That was one of the most important things to me. The earlier stuff, I understand it was like super adventure heavy, and I really wasn't into it at first, but when it started getting towards the end of Dragon Ball, especially when Goku was like older and you saw that awesome fight, I just believe that was the most awesome thing I seen with him and Piccolo the first time in the tournament. I just loved every singular piece of that, and that's probably the best arc that I've seen thus far, because it's like a huge precursor to what's about to happen next, which is Dragon Ball Z. So yeah, I seen bits and pieces. I'm probably gonna go back and see more, but my answer is very brief on this one. But Jojo, have you seen the original Dragon Ball, and what do you think of the arcs, best and worst?
I would have to say my favorite, like my most favorite arc would have to be the King Piccolo saga, because beforehand, this is more or less like a happy, kind of martial arts story where everyone's all growing and everyone's getting better, everyone's friendly, everyone learns from their mistakes. And it starts off with Goku literally finding his best friend's corpse. And this was a child character, mind you. So that's another level of effed uppery. And the sheer anger that Goku showed and everything that he had to try to go through to fight King Piccolo until that final epic final blow that he did, that he put in his torso, causing the Piccolo we know and love now to be born. It was just amazing. And of course, my second favorite one would have to be, I forgot what saga this was, but it was the saga of the World Tournament saga where Goku had to fight Jackie Chun / Master Roshi.
That was the 21st.
21st, thank you. And even though, we were all, wanting Goku to win this one, but the point of this fight it was supposed to be that Goku was supposed to lose, and that's why. And because of a teaching that I think Rad mentioned earlier, that if Goku were to win this tournament, he wouldn't take his training easy anymore. He wouldn't take his training any harder because he'd already think he'd reach the top. And the only way he can motivate himself is to be defeated by somebody. And what better to defeat than, your own teacher?
Because the idea is that Roshi thinks that Goku's his peak. Like he doesn't feel like he's going to get any better. as he is right now, especially if he wins, because when you're at the top, what else is there to do? You've
Exactly.
conquered martial arts.
Yeah, that's why
If there-
Roshi.
if there
That's
are
why Roshi
people-
had to win.
Yeah, if there are people out there that like Jackie Chun, then there's no telling what someone like Goku will do in order to be just as strong as the supposed Jackie Chun.
Yeah, and that's really what makes that fight so beautiful. As for the sagas in Dragon Ball, I would say my least favorite had to be the start stuff, mainly because Emperor Pilaf was more of a joke than a true villain. Yeah, that's my thoughts on OG Dragon Ball.
Yeah, start Dragon Ball as a slow burn, but it does get better as it goes along. I'm kind of glad you mentioned the whole Krillin death thing, because I do thoroughly remember that happening in the visual of him on the ground. Wasn't he killed by like some creature? I do remember that happening.
I can't remember the name of one of Piccolo's Demon King Piccolo's henchmen that did it, or children, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, he punched him once and he fell over dead, and Goku literally finds his body on the ground. And again, this is a dead. Oh,
It's a dead child. Like,
there you go. He's a. Yeah, and that just like gets you right in the heart. Just damn, and especially the way Goku reacts to it. Like, usually Goku's all about training to get better, and only having to defeat bad guys to save the world. This time Goku was out for blood. Like, this was personal to him now.
oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Kaneki, it is your turn. Do you have any sort of best and worst saga in the original Dragon Ball?
Let's see. I do like the King Piccolo saga, especially how Joe described what led to it. Also, the World Tournament arc was actually great. Which is funny because how they evolutionize in the way of Krillin getting killed, and to how in Z, Goku turns Super Saiyan has enough of the bullshit. I think my favorite arcs from Dragon Ball is anything that has to do related with Ariel. Even if Ariel wasn't a Dragon Ball character per se, she was from another show. It's still Toriyama's character. And she was part of the Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball series in a way, so anything with her, it just makes me feel so happy, joy, anytime you got my view, Toriyama. Rest in peace.
He was in Super, and it was one of the best Super episodes
It was.
ever.
Vegeta got bucked by a fucking girl, Ariel.
Arale tore the universe in half just because she can, and even Vegeta gets the idea, that's it, she's got to be a gag character.
Yep,
Vegeta changed the way he fought.
Yeah, gag manga powers or something that I don't even think Zeno the Omni King could counter.
Like Bamco, I would buy this character as DLC. Put her in the game immediately.
And is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Did
All
Nikki go?
Nikki, do you want to go on the original?
No, I didn't go.
Okay.
Yeah, my favorite saga is the Cell games, definitely. That's the one I grew up watching. That was the first saga that I had seen when I started watching Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, so it's nostalgic to me. Of course, I like the original, the Rotted Saga, but something really special about the Cell games. I think mainly because it was just so much a part of my childhood that it ends up being my favorite. I also like the Frieza saga. I thought that was pretty cool. I wasn't too crazy about the Majin Buu or about the Majin series. Okay. Unfortunately, that is where I stopped watching. So some of the other ones that I'm just not familiar with. Kai, I saw a little bit. Super, I'm unfamiliar with. I haven't seen the new one yet. What did I just get tagged in? Hold on, where's the recording session?
This was for the original, not for Z.
Mhm.
Have you seen the original Dragon Ball? Before Z?
What question are you guys at? I'm sorry.
This is question. Where is it? Number
Question 10.
10.
10.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I was reading question 11. Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
No. It's fine. It's fine.
At least that saves an answer.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. Do you have any
Um,
thoughts about? I don't know if you've seen it. Do you have any thoughts or understanding of the original Dragon Ball?
I don't remember like saga wise. I just remember seeing episodes of it, but I think that's. I mean, I remember seeing just the first couple episodes of it, and then parts of the rest of the series. But I can't give you like a definite answer for that.
I would definitely say go back and watch a couple of episodes. You get to see the beginning foundations of the characters, but it's just as like super deep as Z was, and you see some kind of excellent beginnings there. I would definitely recommend it for sure. Check out a few episodes, especially the endings where it's like the fights start to go a little bit crazy and have that Z DNA. But speaking of Z,
Yeah, I do remember seeing a lot of or parts like bits and pieces of Dragon Ball.
speaking of Z, like we're about to move on to those sagas as well. So Tolkien, are you back yet?
I am.
Are you ready to answer your best and worst sagas for Z?
Yeah, I'm ready for my hot take.
All right,
Then go ahead.
Sorry, I have to. So the one saga that I was a little familiar with from childhood was Z. I saw a little bit. So, I remember parts of it, and I always remember Cell being like one of my favorite villains from Z. But if I had to put them in order from, well, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go from worst to best. I have it split into 5 different arcs. I guess it depends on how you look at it. I have worst being the Saiyan arc, the very beginning.
Here we go.
I'm sorry, compared to everything else, it's just, I mean, it's good. Like, nothing's bad. Like, I'm not saying it's like shit. It's just that compared to the other ones, I didn't find it as entertaining. My second least favorite was the Frieza arc. I cannot stand it. It's just, I think the reason why I just got so tired of it is the really bad habit that they have when it's like, oh, you have 5 minutes before Namek blows up, and then you think, okay, it should end next episode, and then you're 20 episodes later, and it's still, oh, now you've got 3 minutes left until Namek explodes. I'm like, are you fucking serious? How long are we gonna drag this out? I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan. I get like it's iconic for everybody because it's the first time you see Super Saiyan Goku, but apart from that, I just did not like it compared to the rest of them. My next one was the Android arc right before Cell shows up. So you got when 17 and 18 show up, 16 and all of that. And then next I had the Boo arc. I really did like that one, but I felt for some of it, it kind of dragged on a little bit. It felt really long. I didn't look to see how many episodes it was compared to the other ones, but it just felt like it went on forever because Boo had so many forms, and then you had to get into before Boo showed up and were summoned. But overall, my favorite is Cell. I think it's just because of Cell himself. I think is a really great villain. I liked his transformations, except for the weirdness of the second one. I felt like it seemed like everybody got to play a part in the Cell arc versus some of the other ones, not necessarily. Just overall, the Cell games, it's just the most memorable for me, just like Nikki had said earlier. It's just the one I remember the most from childhood, so when re-watching a lot of it a couple months ago, it's just the one that stuck the most. I was the most entertained by it. But yeah.
All right, Jojo, you go next. What is your best and worst arcs of Dragon Ball Z?
My best arc would have to say the Frieza Saga arc, mainly because it was the culmination. It was basically just what the whole series was kind of leading up to, because if it weren't for Frieza and his galactic empire sending Saiyans to conquer planets for him, Goku would have never gotten on Earth, and he never would have had all these adventures that led to him finally defeating the tyrant that enslaved his people, a people that he never knew, mind you. My second favorite arc would have to be the Saiyan Saga arc, mainly because we got those really badass fights. We got to see how the fights go from neat choreographed with a little bit of energy to more choreographed and more energy. And also, Raditz is probably one of my favorite characters. I really wish the series would do more with him other than just make dumb little what ifs in the video games. And then I would have to say, I'm just going to count it all. And then my third favorite would have to be the Cell Saga, because he gave us Cell and Android 18, two of my favorite characters. And I would have to say my least favorite was the Boo Saga, because it just went on and on and on and on. And according to the wiki, that whole saga took place in like one day on Earth, apparently. Wrap your mind around that.
All right, I want Rad to go on Z.
I can actually do best to worst, unlike original Dragon Ball here. Okay, so worst is Boo Saga. Bim, bam, done. There are so many things about Boo Saga to me that are just. I already mentioned Videl versus Spofovich. I fucking hate Gotenks. I don't like Boo as much as a villain. The scale just gets too ridiculous. Boo destroys planet. Job done? No, we have a Supreme Kai planet now. The one takeaway, the one good payoff we got from it is the fact that Mr. Satan is the greatest hero Dragon Ball has ever known.
Okay.
But aside from that, it is the weakest of all the arcs to me. And after that is Android, because I'm separating Android and Cell. After that is Android. Just because I consider the first androids to be relatively weak. You got this, like, puff and stuff, high-pitched Android 19. You have 20, who basically does nothing except put Yamcha in a chokehold.
Akira?
Yeah, we weren't supposed to know that at that point. You do get 16 to 18, and those are all good characters on their own, but there's not really a lot of fights to demonstrate that. Like 18 punks out Vegeta, 17 in Piccolo. We've been over the gut punching where the fight suddenly becomes Looney Tunes, and it is a brutal fight. Don't get me wrong, but all that in between, the waiting, the disturbing amount of people, it's just piles of clothes in a city with no humanity. It just kind of goes on. At least with Frieza Saga, you get a fight to watch. Then third place is Cell Saga. I appreciate the torch passing from Goku to Gohan. The Cell Juniors or whatever, I try not to think about the means of which they are born. But it's like the iconic visual of one-handed Gohan with Spirit Goku at his back, blasting Cell and his entire nucleus into absolute oblivion. Give Vegeta the assist, give the man his props. I liked that. And second place is Frieza Saga. I cannot forgive Super Saiyan Goku to Frieza taking 13 episodes to do, even with everything surrounding it, and Vegeta working with the heroes, the Z-Warriors, officially becoming a hero in his own right. It is a good saga on its own. I believe it was supposed to be the end of Dragon Ball Z initially, so it has points for that. But to me, there's no topping the Saiyan Saga. You get the training, you get the fights with Nappa, where even the cool characters from the original Dragon Ball receive a rude awakening when they realize the scale they're in front of. You get Goku versus Vegeta, you get Goku versus Great Ape, which ends about as well as you'd expect. You get fucking Yajirobe, who just people who don't watch OG Dragon Ball are like, who? Saving the day. You get Gohan and Krillin versus Vegeta. It's just the fights go in directions you don't even expect. It's like it's not even Goku that saves the day. It's the people around him that save the day for him. There's just no topping the Saiyan saga for me. It has no equal. But that's just my opinion. Dragon Ball is just a never-ending trip downhill. But at least the angle is relatively small.
All right, so I guess I'm gonna go next on Z. There's a lot to really siphon through, but I guess for worse, I'm gonna start off with worse. I think everyone has this answer or equivalent. I think the Buu Saga's a mess. It really shows that this is where you get cool fusions that go pretty much nowhere, cool transformations that start to go nowhere, and a lot of ass pulling from the villain, and fusions that don't last either too long or the fight is undercooked. Like, this is the most undercooked saga I think I ever seen in my lifetime, and that's like an understatement of just how completely like everyone just gets screwed over, especially Gohan. I just don't understand it. I really did not like it as much. It has cool moments, like I said before. Vegeta's atonement is a very great moment in a hill of, well, for lack of better words, garbage. Okay, it's like flecks of gold in sparkling garbage. I just don't understand where they went wrong. You could tell this is where the creative burnout began to start up. And even I have to agree with Rad. I don't really feel Majin Buu as a super ominous presence. Even when they tried to split him in like 5 different forms, I'm like, what? I got so confused after a certain point. I'm just like, okay, he's Fat Buu now. Then he's the other variant where it's like a darker Buu. Then he's Super Buu.
Super Buu.
And then it's Kid Buu. And I'm like,
By the way, hold on. Before Kid Buu, there was Super Buu, Go Tanks, Go.
Yeah, the absorption ones, and I'm just like, I can't keep up with this. It's too confusing. Even Frieza, you know, he had a lot of transformations, sure, but you could at least have some sort of brain thought to keep up with them. This is just like confusing as fuck. So I just could not keep up with this after a while. Next up, I'm gonna say another saga that really it's not the worst in the world. It's the Android saga, but it is like lower tier because, again, the starting enemies, while they do some crazy stuff and you see that visual of Yamcha impaled and all that other stuff, the threat really does not pick up until the other androids show up. So it's a bit of a slower burn, but I think it was better paced than Majin Buu, because when you get to that point where Vegeta gets his arm broken, I'm just like, holy shit. That's when they started to step up the game. You get the foundation of Cell coming into fruition, and I thought that was pretty incredible for what it was. So it's definitely better than the last one, but there are spots of pacing that could have been done better. I do love the introduction of Trunks. That was very well done, but I felt like the pacing could have been a little bit better. Next up is going to be Frieza Saga. Now, I think it's just incredible for what it is for the most part. The reason why it's not higher on my list is because the other two sagas I just tend to like a little bit more, but this is no slouch. This is when Dragon Ball has this unstoppable force. Frieza is just like slaughtering these people. I think at this point, this is where you see the series is going in a direction where it's like you don't know the outcome at this rate, so it's kind of hard to tell. And that's what I liked. It was very unorthodox for an arc, and Frieza was a very great villain. So I would have to put this here. And the only reason why it's just of a lower tier than the other ones is because I felt those were a little bit more exciting. But I have to say Saiyan Saga is just the stakes are, this is like, I don't even know where to begin. Goku just fucking dies in the beginning. That's number one. That's like, it's something that I would not expect to happen, but the first time that I saw it, I was just like, holy shit, they killed the main character. I know he's gonna come back with Dragon Balls and all that stuff, but the fact that they decided to,
I didn't even know that yet.
yeah, they didn't even, like, the fact that they decided to even just try it and do this, it felt like an element of despair. Then you have the fact that Raditz tells them, oh hey, well, there's two other Saiyans coming to Earth. They heard everything. You guys are fucked. I was just like, okay, so it gets even worse now. Then when they come to Earth, he was not lying. Stuff getting destroyed, airplanes getting torn in half, people getting killed. It felt like the despair was at the highest at this point, and they really needed Goku like super bad. It's like the way Piccolo died, fucking Tien, just that whole culling of like the Z fighters was just absolutely insane. Like you never get anything like that in terms of stakes anymore, because I just believe that everyone's so powerful at this point in Dragon Ball for later on that you just don't get that anymore. But this was when like the power levels were kind of just, they weren't all over the place. It wasn't ass pools. It was just, hey, sometimes one guy could be a little bit stronger than the other, but he could still struggle. They're stronger people. We don't know how strong the Saiyans are at this point. That's what I loved about this. It was even more unpredictable, and you didn't know who was gonna die or not. And then it just goes with that Goku versus Vegeta fight for the first one, and the Great Ape just coming out and making him suffer, just like he's doing to people in Sparking Zero. It's just masterclass. I love this so much. Yeah. But I have to say number one is Cell Saga, and I'm gonna keep this one brief. I mean, it's just the way it takes everything from the Android Saga and it makes it with almost this sort of perfect being, this cocky new form that's going around. He's the strongest, nobody can like sort of beat him. And then they have the Cell tournament, and it just gets like super dire at the end. And one of my favorite moments is when Trunks gets killed and Vegeta loses his shit. He's like, Cell, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is like so awesome, man. It's like a lot of my favorite moments just happen at the end of that chapter, and I'm just like, and it's so great for like a lot of characters, because I mean Vegeta just treated Trunks like shit that whole arc, and then seeing him snap was just an amazing point, and then seeing Super Saiyan 2, amazing point, and then seeing Cell come back, another amazing point. It's just, once again, awesome after awesome after awesome, and I just cannot get enough of it. And that is my favorite arc of Dragon Ball. Just, and Gohan just getting like his due diligence, that was just perfect. Although they don't continue it, it's the best that it had to offer at this point of passing the torch. And that is my favorite arcs done. We're going to move on to Nikki. What about you? Wait, you already said yours. Do you want to go in more detail or not?
Yeah, I'll go into more detail. Yeah, my dumbass.
Okay.
Mistook the first question, or the question before, for this one. But yeah, definitely Cell Saga is number one for me, mainly because of the nostalgia, because of that was the first saga that I had actually seen back when Toonami first became a thing. So it means a lot to me, It was my first Dragon Ball series, or my first Dragon Ball saga. You always remember your first one. But I think what I really liked about it was how as Ren described it, how dire the situation was. You had a you had an enemy who just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger until the point where he became Perfect Cell. And he was just decimating the Z fighters. Like, he killed Trunks, he killed everybody was gone. And at the time, I think Goku was dead also, if I remember. So, and Vegeta was pretty much on the ropes. Trunks was dead. I think some of the other characters I think were dead too. So it was really the first time that you ever see Gohan step up and, you know, really fill in Goku's shoes. And of course had that epic moment with the one-armed Kamehameha with Goku looking down at him, and but it really felt like that he was the strongest boss that they had ever, the strongest enemy that they had ever fought at the time. I would even arguably say that he was the strongest that he fought in the entire series. And it really just felt like, and usually kind of feel like season 3, and I'm saying this with quotations, because if you've seen Sailor Moon, like season 3 of that was probably the most dire of the entire arc, other than Sailor Stars, but that's so you could even argue that this saga season 3 was the most, quote, using that in quotations again, was the most dire, that you really felt like they were on the brink, the Z fighters, and that you really felt like, yeah, there's a really big chance that they could lose this, and if they're all dead, then Perfect Cell wins, and what happens? So that's what I really liked about it: the storytelling, the pacing, the fact that we all really thought that the Z fighters were going to lose this fight.
Kaneki, what about you? What is your favorite sagas? Yes, GT is mentioned in this. So after Kaneki goes, if anyone wants a spiel on GT, they are allowed to have it.
Well, I'll let Token do that if she wants to. But basically, here's my answer, my full answer of this, right? I was gonna put Saiyan Saga as my, of course, but this would have been if it were for the Z Saga. Why Saiyan Saga not number 1 for me? Well, let's go forward after the Buu Saga, right? Let's say before Super was even a thought years later. There was this show called Dragon Ball GT, and yes, it exists. You cannot ignore it. At this point, acknowledge it. It's like Roman Reigns, acknowledge me. Throughout GT, here's where I like the sagas from GT. The entirety of Baby till the Omega Shenron. All of the sagas that happened in the baby saga, all the way to the Omega Shenron saga, it was just, this was the Dragon Ball. People wanted it from Dragon Ball GT, and you know, from baby Vegeta to the second form of baby Vegeta until great baby Vegeta, and then when Goku actually finally snaps because he had his tail back, transformed to the ape, and then transformed into Super Saiyan 4. It was just, this is what people wanted since the beginning of GT. Like, they finally understood. And then we got to other transformations, such as Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. After Baby was defeated, they go to Omega. Then they fused the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, one of the greatest transformations in the history of that series, even if it's not canon. Then Goku did the Spirit Bomb on Omega Shenron, saved everyone. It was just like, this is the pure Dragon Ball moment that people wanted in GT. The entirety of the rest of the Dragon Ball GT, those are my favorites. The Super 17 arc, we're gonna ignore that. Cool character, but let's ignore that arc. And then the Saiyan Saga, of course, would be my second best because it how got me into the Dragon. Goku, Raditz, knowing a bit of their history, and knowing Raditz dropped the whole "he is his brother" line. Like, Like, goddamn, we didn't even knew that Raditz was even related to Goku. So the fact that he dropped that was really surprising. And it adds the whole even more dynamic to their fight, and especially how it ended. And then, of course, Goku versus Vegeta, one of the classic fights, and that was right after the fact. Nappa gets killed by Vegeta, his own partner, which was also funny. And then, I think the Cell Saga would be my third favorite. From Goku training Gohan to become a Super Saiyan, all the way up until the Cell tournament, where Gohan finally turned Super Saiyan 2, after the fact that he stomped Android 16's head and crushed it. It's like Gohan had enough and killed him with the one-hand Kamehameha. Vegeta helped, of course. I can't think. Well, actually, at this point, I would say Boo is. I wouldn't say it's the worst saga, but it is close. The only reason it's not last on my list is because I'm not gonna lie. I do love Kid Boo. Out of all the Boo transformations, that is my personal favorite. Especially with how lengths that Kid Boo goes through, and just to kill his targets. It's like, oh, y'all died? Well, I'm gonna die too and go to that other Kai's world, or that Kai's world. I forgot what it's called, but yeah, that's what happened. He follows them just to finish his fucking mission. Before Goku fucking finally finishes off with the Spirit Ball. The Super 17 arc is probably like the last I would put, because that arc was hot trash. They could have done way more with the Super 17 transformation and how Super 17 became a thing. I just didn't like that.
GT, it saps the energy completely out of me. Does anyone have anything they want to say on GT first before we go? Tolkien, you wanted to say something on GT?
I mean, yeah, I watched it, and sometimes I wish I could erase it from memory, but Jesus. So my least favorite arc, if you want to call it an arc, I split it into, I think, I looked at it as 4 different arcs. And the worst for me was whatever you want to call the beginning. The filler arc is what I want to call it. Well, finding the Dragon Balls with Pan and Trunks and Mini Goku. Now, I don't know. It was just, it was so long and dragged on. I just wasn't a fan of just how it was about. And it's just like, I don't know. I actually put Super 17 next, right above it. Only reason is because I actually could sit up in my seat and watch the Super 17 arc without trying to fall asleep. I liked the idea of it. I appreciated that you got to see 18 get to do something in the anime aside from just being Krillin's wife. So I did like that aspect of it. You got to see some interesting moves within the arc. It wasn't that long, but next I had was the babies arc, I guess. That one seemed to take a long time as well. I enjoyed it for what it was. I liked the idea of it. But there was just a lot of things within the arc I just did not like. Like, whoever, like, I feel like there was just like this massive hate boner for so many of the characters because you only got to see specific ones constantly throughout all of GT. You never see characters like Krillin until he dies. You don't see Yamcha until the very end when Goku's flying over on Shenron, so you see him for 2 seconds. Majority of the other characters you never see either. And even Piccolo, as high up on the list as Piccolo should be, you see Piccolo for 2 freaking seconds before Baby obliterates him, and then you never see him again. I'm like, what is this hatred for these characters? You don't ever get to see them in GT ever. I don't know. I was not a huge fan of how that was all conceptualized. And like, Pan as a character is kind of, I guess, cute, if you want to put it. Very loudmouth, cocky. I didn't mind watching her in whatever I want to call the filler arc with Trunks and Goku as they found the balls, but the thing that really annoyed me was that they also had her go along with Goku when Goku's trying to find the balls on his lonesome. And he said, oh, I'm going to go by myself. I don't want, his 2 sons are wanting to go with him. Like, this could be good quality time for Gohan and Goten to go with their dad that they don't get to do anything with because he's never around. And he's like, no, I want to go by myself. And then of course, Pan goes along. So it's just like I get it's a granddaughter thing. But it's just like, oh, this would have been so good to have Gohan and Goten be a part of it with him. So you just get more Pan screen time, which I was not a fan of. But best arc for me was Omega Shenron, by far. Finally have Vegeta getting involved. You get Super Saiyan 4. You get them all working together to give Goku their energy. You get the Spirit Bomb again. The whole idea of Omega Shenron was really great. But yeah, aside from Super Saiyan 4 form and the boss fights, if you want to call them that, everything else, the way it led up to it, I loathed from GT. Like, it was such a slog to get through for me, except for those parts.
Rad, how about you? How do you feel about the Grand Tour?
I want a refund on this Grand Tour because that beginning has potential. We're going on a big adventure to hunt down the Dragon Balls. It's just like the original series. It's got some fun adventure early on where you get to this planet of the giants where Pan is a queen bee and there's this giant with a massive toothache, but there's a Dragon Ball inside of it. You get the arc with this fucking monster who threatens to blow up the planet, or no, it's earthquakes. He can cause earthquakes on the planet, but he has to marry one of the villagers. So here emerges the arc of Princess Trunks for 2 episodes. It's fun stuff like that, and then it just becomes poor fanfic Dragon Ball Z. It's like you get everything in relation to Lewd and the creepy puppet pedophile guy, where it's just why is this in GT? Why is this in Dragon Ball period? I don't like the baby arc because the main villain is named Baby. It's like that is irreversible damage. Super 17 is okay, but it's random that 17 is becoming a massive super villain. It just kind of seems It's like the Shadow Dragons are like the best. It's like the Shadow Dragons are like the best part, but I don't remember a lot of the Shadow Dragons with the exception of Oceanus for very obvious reasons. But GT is very much take it or leave it. It's considered non-canon now, and I'm personally not losing any sleep over the fact. It is easily the most you can skip this thing in relation to Dragon Ball.
Jojo, it is your turn. What is your experience with Dragon Ball GT?
I don't really have much to say because I did not really like much of other than Super Saiyan 4. Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta was amazing. The only arcs in GT that I liked were the first and the last ones, and by that I mean the whole baby arc that started in the beginning, or rather the Dragon Ball arc, and then the Shadow Dragon arc. I did not like the Super 17 arc at all.
I don't think a lot of people did, considering how they ruined 17.
Nikki, how about you? Any opinions on Dragon Ball GT or not?
No, not really. I didn't watch too much of GT. I just remember some parts of it where Goku was turned back into a child, and I remember Pan being a character, and that's kind of pretty much about it.
Oh my god. Well, how can I put this? I have seen a good deal of it, and the only thing I really liked from this series, and I kind of hate it at the same time, is the fucking English theme song, Grand Tour, to the Grand Tour, and it's stuck in my head. I fucking hate it, but I did not like a large bulk of GT, but I will rate this. So the beginning, Black Star Dragon Ball Saga, it's kind of just Dragon Ball 2.0 of the original, where it's like, okay, we're on the hunt for the Dragon Ball, guys. Let's go find the Dragon Balls. And I'm just like, okay, so I've seen this before, so a nice little rehash, but I didn't like it. It's just like, I really didn't. As for what is next, Baby Saga, it's all right. I didn't fully hate it. Of course, we got the final bit with Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but and they tried to set up the Tuffles or whatever the hell their name is, infecting people, getting into people, taking them over. So it was like an alien invasion. It felt very cliche. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of like the right term for it as well. It's like very cliche. Oh, that Bulma's like now evil, or this person's evil because of this alien species. The only reason I put it over the other arc is because it does have some form of stakes compared to everything else, where it's like, oh, I mean, Goku and Trunks are probably gonna get out of it, and this one had like a culminating fight with Baby and Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and I kind of dug it a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Next up is Super 17. I don't like this arc at all.
Skip that one.
I really don't. My disdain for this is probably eternal, because it is, from what I'm reading, it is so fucking short. It's literally like 6 or 7 episodes. It's almost unreal. You can tell they just decided to say, hey, we're gonna rush right through this, and we aren't gonna care about certain elements of this. I mean, Super 17 looks cool, but when you get to the point of a lot of other characters not really mattering much, and then it just ends with the biggest rehash I think I ever seen, with Goku going through 17's chest, I'm just like, what was the payoff to this? What was the point? Shadow Dragons obviously is the best. It kind of just goes in order for me, because at least they had a little bit more going on. You got to see Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, you know, them fusing together. It was kind of cool seeing Shenron as well in their little fight. But overall, I would say a good third of the way is kind of just useless filler, and the only thing I remember is the theme song, and that's it. And I really remember just not being too much into it outside of the certain transformations, which looked pretty cool. So yeah, it was a resident sleeper for me. I wasn't really into GT. But we're moving on to Super, and if anyone wants to talk about Daima, they can. So I will start with JoJo first. What do you think of Dragon Ball Super and the sagas in it from best to worst?
I like some parts of Super. I would say my favorite part of Super, my favorite saga of Super, I should say, is the Universal Tournament arc. Not Universal, other Tournament of Power, where Goku did one of the most badass things ever, Ultra Instinct, which is, if you really look into what Ultra Instinct is, it's actually really, really good. I also like the Universe 6-7 tournament arc, and then I guess the Beerus arc in the beginning, and I guess at the very end would probably be the Golden Frieza arc. I did not read the manga yet, so I don't have an opinion on the manga section of Super because that's still ongoing.
All right, how about you?
It's on hold because
Yeah,
rest in peace, Toriyama.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm still kind of collecting my thoughts together. So if you could just come back to me for the moment.
okay. What about you, Kaneki?
I think let's see. Most of JoJo's answer would be correct, except I would prefer some the Future Trunks arc as first, outside of the ending, because I'm not gonna lie, the ending where Future Trunks just pulls out so many energies into the sword out of his ass, and then fucking kill or finishes off Samazu, that shit was lame. That shit was lame. The rest of the arc was good though, so that's why I always put it first. It's like Goku Black was a fresh breath of fresh air in terms of new villains and new the Dragon Ball character. And then most of the list it would actually be JoJo's list actually.
All right, I'll go next. Ooh, super. I'm gonna start with a criticism of this where I think it's very valid and constructive. So, one of the things I don't like about Super is that they like to rehash the movies. And I thought to myself, like, why am I watching like the same arc from the films but in anime format? I know they add a little bit of like, oh, a little here to the lore, a little there, but it feels ultimately pointless in my opinion. And I think this was worse when they decided to do the early animation, and it looks so bad. It's like you're better off watching the movie because at least the movie looks better and condenses everything into a more, I want to say, entertaining format over the animes. That being said, let's talk about the original content that we have for Super that I liked. I'll start off with, well, you know, my least favorites are everything that was rehashed. I will say that when we started to get to places like I think the Moro arc, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's definitely the one where it's kind of like they were pulling a lot out of their ass with this. Goku giving a villain a sensu bean again, which pissed me off. I just could not stand it. And then Moro turning into this weird, oh, I'm part of the earth now, and I'm going to get fission out and killed. I think that kind of ends a little bit worse than Future Trunks, because I'm just looking at this like, what in the fuck? What is actually happening at the end of this saga? A lot of people complained about that, and I kind of agree. But his transformations, lore, the little goat looking thing, it's kind of awesome the way they went about it, but the ending is absolutely to me. Then I'll move on to the Tournament of Power. Again, Tournament of Power is fascinating. This is where you go and see universe survival, fight for your universe, or have it wiped out by Xeno. And for the most part, I thought this was simplicity, going back to basics, but it made sense to do this because now you have all these interplanetary beings in Super. At this point, you have all these warriors fighting. You have the introduction of gods at this point, gods of destruction from another universe. It made sense to culminate it this way, but what's keeping it a little bit from top tier is the fact that while all the fights are like fucking amazing in the anime, I'm talking, if you want to see some really great fights in Super, you will watch this. But the idea is a very simple premise, and there have been like tournament arcs before in other animes, which I'm probably going to talk about later, Yu Yu Hakusho, that did the emotion a lot more better than this. And I also started to feel at a certain point when Jiren is just kind of like soloing everything for the next 20 episodes, I got a little bit bored of him as a villain. I don't know if anyone else felt that, but this is how I personally felt, because I'm just like, oh, well, he's the strongest. No one can touch him. No one can beat him. We're going to repeat that for the next couple of episodes until we get to UI Goku. And I'm just like, all right. And then it kind of just continues again. Then he sort of loses the form, then it continues, and everyone else tries to pile up on him. I mean, that was entertaining, seeing that Goku and Frieza was working together. That's the crazy part, but I just felt it started to get repetitive a lot in the middle, and I'm not sure if anyone else feels this, but I definitely felt that after some time. Next up is, so I'm gonna say Future Trunks. I don't like how it ended, but I do like the concept, the lore, the fact that we're gonna tap into this and we're gonna have Zamasu come in, and he is, you know, part of Goku Black, swapped to another body. All that stuff I loved a lot more, which is why I would rate it a little bit higher than Tournament of Power, because they actually tried to establish this story with this Kaioshin that was getting tired of humanity. It's like, I'm done with people and how they sort of interact and how they are just savage animals. And when he's telling that to Goatsu, even though I think Goatsu is really dumb, because I'm pretty sure you should have knew day one, Zamasu was really not liking what was going on with like life and everything like that, trying to steer him to the right direction. And I'm not surprised he got killed either by Zamasu. But I think this is where you have some of the best transformations in terms of how it's coordinated. You get Super Saiyan Blue Vegito, that's awesome. You get Fused Zamasu, that's awesome. It's like, for a while you kind of see the despair even with the new transformations and fusions going on, which I thought was cool. I just didn't like how Deus Ex Machina Trunks had the sword and he sort of cut Zamasu in half, and then he turns into a laughing face. It was cool that the anime said it's two Trunks now, but I don't think they're gonna do anything with that personally, so I'm just kind of like, okay, it's a cool lore tidbit that two of them exist in his universe, but they did not show us, so it's kind of like, well, show and tell. That's the only way I'll get really invested. I feel like they should do an arc in Trunks' universe again, or in the other universes where I think people wanted Vegeta to teach Kaba. That'd be pretty cool. And as for Granola, again, it's not top for me, but I'm just kind of appreciative that they have this sort of anti-hero here, where it's like, not only is he awesome, but they go back and forth between fighting and the Saiyans. They don't know what he can do. He snipes like Vegeta in the stomach, and it's pretty cool. You see Ultra Ego. The way it just plays out a bit is what's making me anticipate it in anime form, because, and then you see Black Frieza, which is, I mean, come on, let's be honest, this is the funniest transformation I think I ever see. Black Frieza two-shotting.
He's finally got the N-word pass.
He's two-shotting the heroes at the end. It's one of the endings where I'm like, the way that it ended, I have absolutely no problem with it whatsoever, because it's so goddamn funny, but it's so awesome, and it's probably going to lead up from that into what they're doing now, where we have Broly training with the gods. What is that going to be about? We have Granola now on the side of the heroes. What is that going to be about? How is he going to get any new powers or anything, as opposed to these sniping capabilities? It's just so much lore that they put in here that goes at a steady pace, which is why I like it so much. So I can't wait to see it in anime form. And Black Frieza, that's gonna be funny when he two-shots them. So that's about it. It's a lot of parts of Super that I like, and then the rehashes are like not really that great, but I hopefully cannot wait to see what Toyotaro does when he finally gets his hands and he starts to do a lot more work on the franchise and delivers us like some pretty cool stuff. As for Daima, I watched it a little bit. It's fine. I didn't I think it needs more time to sit in the oven. More revelations. It's cool we got, I don't know who this guy is. He looks like another Kaioshin, but he's a little bit evil, and he has like impatience, and he basically smacked the shit out of Dende. I was just like, God damn. I was like, okay. But I like that the evil Kaioshins, or the ones that are like not on the side of the heroes, are the ones they are sort of like showcasing, and I can't wait to see the rest of the villains. It's an interesting setup, but I need to see episode 2 to really gather all my opinions on this. But I like it so far. And the last thing I'll say is that the animations are incredible. The fact that they remade fights from the Majin Buu saga just made me go, I don't like the saga that much in Z, but I really want a remake after seeing the animations. So I recommend people to go watch it, check it out, and you will probably like it a lot. All right, so we have our final question here, which is, considering that Akira Toriyama is no longer with us after his unfortunate passing. Wait, did I skip someone?
Hi.
Yes, you did.
Tolkien?
And Rad.
Oops. My bad.
Yeah, I opted to pass, but Tolkien can take my place for the moment. I'll go last.
Well, Tolkien, as we skip past you, as you were talking about the balls earlier, it's about your turn. So what do you think of Dragon Ball Super?
Wow, rude. Forgetting people.
My bad.
So Super overall, probably my favorite saga. To put them in order, I have to put Golden Frieza last. Now, I watched the movie for this. Same with Battle of the Gods. I didn't watch the anime. I was told to just watch the movies. It's better. It's more condensed. You'll probably like them more. So I did. But just the whole Golden Frieza thing, as we said, with like least favorite transformations or moments or whatever we had talked about, it was so trash. Like, I don't know. I have nothing good to say about it. Second would be Tournament of Destroyers between Universe 6 and 7. I liked it, but I didn't find it as good as the rest of the arcs in Super. I mostly enjoyed it for Hit. I really liked Hit as a character. Some of the other ones I wasn't a huge fan of. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about that one. Next for me is Battle of the Gods. I really, really liked this movie. You get to meet Beerus, you get to meet Whis, who end up being two of my favorite characters from Super. You get Goku's iconic moment against Beerus, his line that everybody quotes from this movie. You get Vegeta standing up for Bulma, which, oh my gosh, the tingles and the goosebumps I had when I saw that for the first time. I was like,
Tingles?
oh my god,
Wait a minute.
yes. Goosebumps.
You said tingles. Wait a minute.
Well,
Go
you know
ahead.
what I mean. Hush.
He has
But yeah, it was
cooties.
just, oh, shut up. It was just a really great moment to see a character come so far from being a polar opposite when you meet him to this is fantastic. Then after that, I like Tournament of Power. It's not the top for me. It's second top. I like seeing all the new characters. Granted, it was a really long arc, but to me, it didn't drag on as long as, let's say, like Pooh Saga did or some of the other ones. I liked a lot of the characters. I really much appreciated Master Roshi being a part of the tournament. Like, I adore Master Roshi. I think he's so funny. It was great to see him be involved in some way. UI Goku, which I really liked. There was just so much to like about that tournament. But top for me has to definitely be the Future Saga, Trunks. Goku Black has got to be one of my favorite villains. Like, it's so well done. The idea that they made a villain that is polar opposite of like Goku, who he is inherently as a person, so he's, kind, and you have him just opposite. It was so good. I like having more of Trunks. I like having more of Vegeta. I liked everything about that saga. Trying to kind of like follow along the mystery as you first start watching it and you've never seen it before, and you're trying to figure out who Goku Black is and where he's come from and who's aligned with him and how the Kais have to be involved with it. Like, I think I binged the whole arc in a day or two. I just went through it so fast. I loved everything about it. My initial impression for Daima, I really like the animation, as most people are gonna say. It's really good. The only thing that I'm kind of like iffy on is just coming fresh off watching fucking Dragon Ball GT, and now Goku's a child again. I'm just like, oh my god, this man, like, he spends more time as a child than he does as a grown-ass man. Like, I'm tired of seeing these child Gokus, but I'm hoping it'll only get better from here on out. I mean, I got to see the second episode. I won't spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, but I'm ready to see what happens next. But it does look really good.
Yeah, I'm gonna just interject with like 3 little things. Like, number 1, I got that vibe from Daima as well. This is gonna be like GT 2.0, but I'm hoping that I'm completely wrong. I will watch episode 2. I will keep watching and see. I don't believe though. I think Toriyama just knows his craft, and obviously I'm gonna just watch and judge myself. But if it is hype later on, I'm hoping it's the GT that I always wanted, with twists and turns and fun stuff going on. So fingers crossed there. As for the other stuff I wanted to mention, there was another saga in Super. It was very short-lived. It was called the Copy Vegeta saga, where he has a slime variant of himself and he fights him for a bit. The arc itself is trash, but they got Brian Drummond, the original Vegeta, to voice Copy Vegeta, and then you have him and Chris Saibot, and that interaction is just gold. So if you're a big Dragon Ball fan, watch it for that, but the quality of the arc itself is so pointless, I can't even begin to describe how bad the filler was. But that interaction was worth it. And then there's one more thing I wanted to mention. Oh yeah, please, look, for whatever god that exists out there, I love the granola arc, but I need Ultra Ego Vegeta, because having him with Hakai Shin powers is fucking awesome, and purple hair, and I need him to Hakai someone in Sparking Zero, and if he's in the DLC, I will buy 8 copies of this game. I'm just saying. I didn't bring that form up as an honorable mention before, but I wanted to mention it now. It's cool. It's so cool. It's like the Beerus like sort of aura on Vegeta is amazing. All right, that's enough of me gushing over Hakai Shin, God of Destruction, fucking Ultra Ego Vegeta. Rat, it is your turn. What do you think of all the sagas in Dragon Ball Super?
I'll keep things really quick. Tournament of Destroyers arc is ruined by Monaka because I can't fucking stand him, because those nipples, I can't unsee them. Why is he here?
What the? Wait.
Do you not remember? Do you not remember the Monaka was in Universe 7 and he's this like fucking mail clerk that gave Beerus trouble, and like he fights hits and it's the weakest fucking non-damage punch, but hits just flies off like it's Mr. Satan striking Android 18.
What? I need a picture of this, please.
Oh god, no, please don't. Okay, so I skipped the start of Super because it's just fuck you. It's just the movies again. I've heard they're slightly weaker. I would like to go back and watch God of Destruction because Battle of Gods is my favorite movie. But until then, we get the Future Trunks saga, which is the most unique and honestly one of the darkest directions mainline Dragon Ball has taken. It's like, yes, I know History of Trunks is a thing, but Future Trunks is just so out there, and especially with their character selection of all the characters that could have joined Trunks on this adventure, you pick Mai, which is very close to my heart because she was one of Pilaf's thugs, and she falls in love. She forms a camaraderie with Trunks, and it's amazing that those two are an item. Not getting too much into Goku Black and Zamasu because I feel like everyone has said their piece on those characters. I do feel like the writers tried a little too hard to make Goku Black utterly reprehensible. That entire dialogue of, oh, Goku, I went and saw your wife and kid and I fucking murdered them. It's just kind of tried a little too hard, and then all I picture when I see the end of the villain is that like warped Zamasu where he's like disintegrating and falling apart. That's the one image I take away from Future Trunks arc. But Tournament of Power is just such a strong arc because you have so many great characters. I could go on with the Universe 6 Saiyans, the Universe 2 trio, which is also after my own heart because they're just a bunch lovey-dovey trio of great women characters that Dragon Ball didn't really have enough of. And you get a lot of, admittedly, it's a lot of filler of names of characters I can't remember, like everyone in Universe 3 and 4, and they're so unmemorable, they decided to fuse together to become an even more unmemorable character. You get the Universe 7 selection, which is the expected heavy hitters: Goku, Piccolo, Vegeta, Krillin, Tien, and then you get the out of left field stuff like Master Roshi, and you get the what the hell are you even thinking with Frieza, when Frieza ends up being the hero of the goddamn arc. And also, I didn't get to really talk about Frost that much because Frost is just Frieza turned up to like 10 because Frost is a downright scumbag and I fucking love him. If there's anything you can really take away from Super, I would love to see a Universe 6 spinoff. I want to see more of Caulifla as like a gang leader with like mousy little Kale at her back, and I want to see more of Kaba. I want to see more of Hit. I want to see them dispatch villain Frost, and this is just money on the table that you are leaving there because you're going to Daima, and as far as I'm concerned, Daima is a 2 steps back kind of series. Everyone's a kid character, and we're never ever gonna focus on them again because, again, this is just GT 2.0. There are nice little references here and there, but I have no confidence in the world that the fights are going to be anywhere near the levels of Z and Super. But please prove me wrong, Daima. Alright, I'm done.
I wonder how many episodes this season will have. I guess we have to see as they
12 episodes.
12. Okay, so they
Over 12.
They still,
I've read 20 somewhere.
Over
Yeah,
9,000!
they still have time, so I'm just gonna give it time to sink in. But I did get those vibes before where I'm like, GT 2.0, why are we reverting again? I just hope the fights and the story carries it. But now we are on the final question as Tolkien talks about dildos in the chat. Okay, that's lovely. Okay, yes. But yeah, question number 13. Considering that Akira Toriyama is no longer with us after his unfortunate passing, is there any parting words of wisdom that you want to say about him, especially with his legacy involving Dragon Ball? I will go with JoJo first.
I would just say, you know, the man lived one of the greatest, the man created one of the best, you know, media franchises ever. And it's all about, you know, overcoming your limits and, you know, taking care of the ones you love. You know, I think it's as blatant as, you know, that really, as far as I'm concerned. You know, fight for what you truly believe in. Just make sure what you're fighting for is, you know, good, and try to overcome every limit you possibly can, because you never know what you can do unless you try. And as generic as that sounds, I think that's a message Toriyama was trying to tell with Dragon Ball.
Tolkien.
Jojo pretty much said it. Great person, great writer. His works are going to continue on for generations to come. I don't think Dragon Ball's ever going to be forgotten. It's like, it's too good. It's too iconic. It started right before and became the cause of what became the big three in Shonen. I mean, yeah,
The
it's not
granddaddy of
going anywhere.
anime.
Oh, what happened?
Huh? What?
Oh, she's done.
Oh,
Mm.
I thought somebody cut out for a second, but I guess we'll move on to the next person. So, Nikki, what do you think of Toriyama's legacy with Dragon Ball, and is there anything you want to say after his untimely passing?
Blondes have more fun, don't they? No, I'm kidding. Just dye your hair blonde and you can take over the world. You can fight anyone, any big enemy, any mountain's not too high. Just dye your hair blonde and you can rule the day. No, I'm just kidding. There's much more than that. Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball in general is an iconic series for a reason. More than just it came out at the right time. It's the characters, it's their personalities, it's the relationships that they form around each other. It's the overcoming your strengths to become even more powerful. And then once you have achieved that mountain, okay, let's go over to the next one. And let's find our strengths, let's find our weaknesses, let's find the togetherness that how do I say, that build up that build ourselves up. Yeah, I guess it's basically don't stop aiming for the top, and then when you get there, just keep going.
Kaneki? Wait, is someone snoring on the podcast?
No, I'm trying to think of what to say.
I was about to say, you about to take my place in a minute.
No, I'm not tired.
Uh-huh.
Listen, Ren, I want you to sleep on the call.
That ain't happening. Well, maybe.
All right. Maybe. Okay, but for real. He will never be forgotten as the way he changed my life in terms it affected me personally. It's especially when it comes to television. Cause it was because of him and his ideas coming to life in front of our television. His show was the reason why I got into anime in first place. Not Pokemon, not Digimon, not even Yu-Gi-Oh! Dragon Ball was the first one. And his work will never be forgotten. I will see him in another world very soon, one day.
Rat, it is your turn. Any parting thoughts to Toriyama and Dragon Ball and the legacy that was imparted?
Mine will hopefully be less morbid. But my memories of watching cartoons not from America, instead being from Japan, delve back longer than Dragon Ball itself. But Dragon Ball was the first anime I watched that felt like mandatory viewing. Like, I got hooked on the stories and characters, and I didn't really know it at the time, but Toriyama's impact on me and the works he was involved in went beyond and before Dragon Ball. He designed the characters for the Dragon Quest series. He designed the characters for Chrono Trigger. It's the greatest RPG of all time. It's like Toriyama's legacy doesn't just extend to fans of Dragon Ball. It extends to other mangaka. Like, there's so many people in the industry that respect what Toriyama has done, and really, that's one of the greatest gifts as a manga writer you can have. Not only are you eternal, but you inspired the next generation. Toriyama's legacy is just endless.
All right, one of the things that was just something that happened during all this was when anime people all over the world, they got together and then they said, "Hey, look, it it was a thing where it was revolutionary for what this man did for shonen and anime in general. Whether it's Kubo, Kishimoto, Oda coming out and just sort of talking and saying, "Hey, you inspired me." Whether it's One Piece, Naruto, or Bleach, just this whole sensation that this man could cause an entire journey of anime adventures, rapid fights, transformations. All of this stuff was paramount with Dragon Ball. And I don't think that it would have been such a sensation if it wasn't for the legend himself, Toriyama, which I thoroughly appreciate. He not only gave leeway to this genre that we care about so much, but inspired all these other animes that we either talked about on the podcast, will talk about, and it's just something that will stay in the hearts of everyone for hours, seconds, and days to come. So I'm really excited to be part of this community talking about Daima and just giving my thoughts on something that's so legendary. And since it inspires like so many people, I can't wait until it continues in the future. While Toriyama is not here with us today, his legacy will 100% live on. And that's how I feel about that. So we're gonna miss you always. Look to the skies. We're gonna see you there, and it's gonna be a wild ride. So I am going to do the outros for this podcast. Tolkien, you are first.
You can find me on Twitter or X for now. I mean, I don't use it much, but I am at Lady Tolkien 7, and then YouTube and Twitch is just Lady Tolkien.
All right, you can find me on Twitter. Well, no, you can find me on Blue Sky now, where I don't know. I'm just gonna completely act a fool. I'm gonna post my Pornhub, and it's gonna be
There you go.
crazy and wild time. So Blue Sky is Blue Sky at Renegade Operative.
Don't forget X videos.
X videos too, where I will be making muffins or something like that. I don't know. I'll find something to do.
Ren, go to bed. You're grounded.
No, let me stay up. I get crazier when I stay awake.
You stayed awake too long.
That's the worst part. That's the worst part. We don't want that.
Go to sleep, Ren.
But it's Renegade Operative. You can find me on the sites everywhere. I'm sure that I'm not a hard person to find. Let's see who's next. Rad, what is your outro, good sir?
You can find me on bsky at radrad.bsky.social. You can find my YouTube channel, Radrad's Rad Games, which has been a little dormant because my October has been sparking zero and not much else. I'm planning something in November, but so keep an eye on my bsky for information on that.
Jojo, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at The Lost Jojo, and I too got a Blue Sky, thelostjojo.bsky.social. I'm also on YouTube under the name The Lost Woodshed, where every Friday I stream Team Fortress 2 with my friends. Hashtag fix TF2, hashtag save TF2. We did it, baby.
Kaneki, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, under the same name as School War Order, and you can also find me on Blue Skies, known as schoolwarorder.bsky.social. And I'm going to keep playing Sparking Zero and support Daima until the very end.
Wop, did you go?
Not yet.
Go ahead.
Okay, Padukale. Hello, everyone, and good night. You can find me on Twitter at Nikki SYL Lady. You can also find me occasionally on Twitch. I don't have time for it anymore, Strapping Young Lady on Twitch. You can also find me on YouTube, Strapping Young Lady Gaming, when I actually have time to upload things. And the other place where you can find me is passed out in my chemistry book. Also, Buff Smoke. Good night.
Dexter's lab just passed out over here. All right, this was fun. I have no idea what the next anime discussion will be, but I'm sure it'll be a good time, and I will probably be up for this at last. Like a true champion and Super Saiyan winning the tournaments. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about this. Sparking Zero. I will definitely be getting it, and you will see IES shenanigans. Rest assured, that's gonna be a fun time. That's gonna be. I get to be Vegeta and smash people. Is great. But I am signing out with the IES. Hopefully you guys have a great night. You enjoyed this Dragon Ball discussion, and as always, take care of yourselves. See you later, and I don't know, make a wish for some pizza. That's a good thing to do. See you guys.
Drink some heat tap.
Flying
It's over.
Nimbus!
Flying Nimbus.
It's over 9,000.
I'm so mad
Can
that
I go to bed now?
I'm so mad Goku doesn't use the power pole anymore. Yes, we can leave finally.
Oh, watch Daima.
Go
All right,
watch
I'm
Daima.
gonna-
Let's watch Daima.